Steel Toes and Scoreboards podcast. Word association, Dirty Curdy. First thing that comes to mind.
He changed the league, am I wrong?
God, I hate Tom Brady. He's talented, but yeah.
You just won't call him the GOAT, will you?
We should have called ourselves the hashtag Tits Podcast. 1,000 downloads a day, guaranteed.
2 idiots talking sports. I love it, bro.
Is he the best running back you've ever seen?
If he's not, then who is? Who do you put at number one, bro?
There will be a Detroit Pistons Bad Boys episode one day.
Man, you love that 2-year run, don't you?
No, I do. You can get a hot bat anywhere. You build around your pitching, or at least I do if I'm in charge.
Pitching and defense wins your World Series, hands down.
I came out of the closet as a Lakers fan.
Whoa, bro. Scared me there for a second.
Oh, sure bet. Sure bet. There will be an increase of boxing talk on this show. I love boxing.
I'm down for that anytime.
Our few non-sports episodes have been pretty well received.
We do a good thing by running a two-fold podcast.
Please put Pete Rose in the damn Hall of Fame.
Charlie Hustle, the all-time hits leader. It's political bullshit, and if he ever sees the Hall of Fame, it'll be after he's no longer with us.
I miss the NBA I grew up on in the 90s and the early 2000s.
The game isn't the same, but these kids can play.
We're starting to talk more hockey, and that's never a bad thing.
Puck the world, puck it all.
Puck the world, Kurt says. I promise you, I can work a pro wrestling reference into every episode. Want to see me do it?
Weird flex, but okay.
I can't believe, seriously, in all seriousness, I can't believe we've been doing this show a year now.
I can't believe people still listen after a year, you know. You have the perfect face for radio.
Oh, cut me deep, son. Cut me deep. He exploded a bird with a fastball. I seen it happen.
Randy Johnson, the big unit.
The big unit. So, I got a little soccer news for you.
No, let me stop you right there. That's a no for me. We don't talk soccer on this show.
All right, fair enough. Let me ask you, though. Does Kobe win 3 in a row without Shaq on the Lakers?
What do you think?
Well, that's pretty tough. All right, well, look at it this way. He's a future Hall of Fame quarterback.
Without question. And he's still so young. Lots of knowledge left in that kid.
All right, guys, enjoy the next episode of Steel Toes and Scoreboards coming to you now. Toes and Scoreboards. Jared Atkins alongside the beautiful beardless bastard as he is shaved.
What's up, bro?
Kirk, what's up, bro?
Not much.
This has been a fucked up night.
It's all right.
We were supposed to record today. Then I said I was going to be late, so we were just going to remote at home. And then I said, no, we need to do this episode here. And now we're rearranged. We were completely in a different spot. It took me forever to set the equipment up, and I was running around freaking out.
But here we are, folks.
Here we are. Yes, we are 2 weeks removed, fresh from our Richmond, Indiana trip.
Yes, great time.
That was a
shout out 2 beers. After 2 beers.
Shout out After 2 Beers. Yes, After 2 Beers podcast. Our episode with After 2 Beers is up. As far as our end, the episode we sit in on them with, check it out. They're available on all your podcast channels. Their episode is just simply titled Steel Toes and Scoreboards. As far as me and Kurt's episode, that's on taking a little bit more. I am not converting the audio. I am having issues converting that, so I'm probably going to get in touch with their producer, Kevin, and give Kevin the login information to our page and have Kevin upload it because I am having uber trouble converting this. So, but enough about that. We've got a treat tonight.
Yeah.
And time expired on me. So I am 90% finished with the notes on this episode, and I'm confident about that because I have the mobile hotspot hooked up on my phone for internet to the laptop, And
we just got to know where he's at. Dude.
And well, it's 10. You know, it's only the other 10%. You know, but
where's he at? Where's he at?
The him that Kerr's referring to is probably one of the greatest mysteries in not just American history but world history, and that is the disappearance of Teamsters leader Jimmy Hoffa.
Now, where's he at? Really?
So tonight's topic is something that's captivated me since the first time I heard the story and the name of Jimmy Hoffa. I was about 12, 13 years old.
Right.
So we're talking like, 99, 2000.
Right.
And I was just fascinated with the story ever since. And
Did it take place in the 60s, right? 50s,
70s.
70s.
Okay. So in preparation for this episode, I have just I've been amassed in American mafia culture lately. I've been watching all kind of documentaries, reading about the five families.
I've been thinking of 1,000 ways to kill somebody and hide your body.
See, that's right up that alley.
Yeah.
I've been watching The Sopranos. I started The Sopranos.
Right.
So, but all right, man.
Yeah, let's dive into it.
I'm excited about that. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to plug. We're going to pay a bill. And actually, Kurt, this one we might have just picked up a freebie. Again, these guys are probably checking the podcast out for the very first time. I use the joke that we have official, unofficial sponsors. Right. These are just great companies that we promote, and they've sent us a little bit of free merch here and there. But I got a company that I want to shout out here. Well,
shout it, shout it out loud.
I'll be damned if it wasn't for technical difficulties every time. So, all right, here we go. Let's do this. So, guys, check out Two Sign Guys LLC, based in Jasper, Indiana. These people do a bunch of signs. Obviously, it says it all. They help with your advertising needs, basically. Check them out at give them a call at 812-482-9136. Check them out at twosignguys.com. They're averaging just under a 5-star rating on Facebook, which is really good. They're getting 4.5 stars. Now they've done a bunch of sign work for a lot of customers lately. They've done some works for some of the businesses in Huntingburg, some personal properties, some private parking signs.
Who don't like a custom-made sign?
Oh, right? That's right. Yeah. So seriously, guys, check out Two Sign Guys LLC. Okay.
Right.
If I smoke pot, my anxiety level, I would smoke pot right now.
Really?
Jesus. No. Damn it. Should have seen this motherfucker's face. Can I just grab a drink and hit my tobacco vape before we start?
I guess. Let's go.
I know we've got a late night tonight.
Yeah.
It's been a while since we did a late night. Okay. James Riddle Hoffa.
James Riddle?
Now, I see the look in your face. I want you to, yes. Considering what this story is, how weird is that his middle name is Riddle?
That's not coincidence. No, no way, dude. There's no way.
He was born February 14th.
On Valentine's Day.
On Valentine's Day.
Cupid got him, didn't he?
1913.
Okay.
So, 1913.
Over 100 years ago, right?
No.
110 years ago.
No, that's what? Next year will be...
2023?
No. Fuck, I can't do the math. Maybe, probably, yeah.
110 years.
Something like that. Basically, there's no chance of finding this guy alive. Just go ahead and get this out of the way before we start. Jimmy Hoffa is not alive as of September 24th, 2022. He's gone.
He'd be 110, folks.
You're not going to find him eating a Burger King Whopper meal with somebody like Elvis or Jim Morrison or Tupac or Kurt Cobain. It's just not going to happen.
Right.
Yeah. You know where he was born?
No, I do not.
Brazil, Indiana.
No way.
Hoffa was born in Indiana.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
So, I told you I'm super excited about this episode. As I stated, I should say this. everything we present tonight, history-wise, is all based on factual information, and opinion-wise, you guys are smart enough, I hope. I shouldn't say that about our listeners, but you're smart enough to understand that me and Kurt are semi-smart, not completely smart.
Yeah.
Two idiots talking sports, hashtag tits.
We missed the boat.
We missed the boat. But, our opinions are our opinions, but we try to present the most factual information we can, especially on this episode was super important to me. We're looking at 30 pages, almost $9 grand worth of words. So, a little bit of background about Hoffa here. I'm kind of digging this new setup we got.
Yeah,
if I turn the mic up, I could set all the way back.
There you go. That's what it's all about.
So, okay.
Got to be cozy.
Hoffa's father was German. Okay, I know, big deal, right? His mother was Irish.
Okay.
So look at that little hodgepodge basket of
melting
ethnicity. Pot, a melting pot. There you go. So in 1924, Hoffa's about 9 years old. His family decides they're going to move to the big city for better work opportunities. So they leave Brazil, Indiana, and they move north, settling in Detroit, Michigan. Okay.
Way up
where Hoffa would live out the remainder of his life until he died, because he's dead. Even if he wasn't dead then in 75, he's dead now.
Yeah.
So, but Hoffa was about 14 years old. He chose to help his family survive over education, and he quit school, taking to working manual labor jobs. Now, think about that for a second.
How old is he?
14.
Whoa.
Now, think about this for a second, all right? You with me?
I'm with you.
Roll with me, okay? So, he drops out in the equivalency of what would be like his 7th, 8th, 9th grade year of high school, right?
Right.
But for a man to become the leader that he is and to be as well educated and as well spoken as he was, but he never had a high school education.
He was.
This means this dude's really.
Yeah, he was.
He was born to be a leader. Yeah.
That was one of them moments, right?
Yeah. It's just fascinating to me. Now he would marry a Polish lady, a Polak as they call her. I can't even pronounce her last name. Her first name's Josephine. He called her Joe. They were married September 25th, 1937. Tomorrow would have been their wedding anniversary.
So he'd been 24?
About in his 20s, yeah. She was 18 at the time. She was a laundry worker doing laundry in Detroit suburbs. They met 6 months to a year before they got married due to a non-unionized laundry worker strike. The couple would give birth twice to a Barbara. They would give birth to a daughter named Barbara on April 8th, 1938, and to a son named James Philip Hoffa, Jimmy Hoffa Jr.,
right,
on May 19th, 1941. Now, just skipping along here, you want a fun fact about about Jimmy Hoffa Jr.? He would go on to become an important piece to the Teamsters Union, just like his dad. He would become the 10th president of the IBT, the International Brotherhood of Teamsters, and he would be elected to five-year terms, serving as president of Teamsters in 98, 2001, 2006, 2011, and 2016. His last term ended earlier this year in March 2022 as an 80-year-old man. This would make him the second longest serving president in Teamsters history.
Damn, he must be doing it right.
So I mean, you got a Hoffa in there somewhere.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So how did Hoffa get involved with the Teamsters, Kurt?
Yeah, I don't know.
You want to know?
Yeah.
Would you like somebody to tell you?
Yes.
Can I do it?
Yes.
Fuck it, send it. So Hoffa would start getting involved in workers' rights and pre-union movements while he was a teenager growing up in Detroit, Michigan. He was working for a grocery store chain at the time that was paying their workers, not just the teenagers, the adults in general, in the 30s and whatnot, in the 20s. They were paying these guys very subpar wages.
Right.
So you couldn't make a living. It's like it's the equivalent of what we was talking about with After Two Beers. People going out hiring $8 an hour jobs.
Right.
You know, back then it was like $1 an hour,
right,
whatever. So Jimmy would try to, kind of rally the troops to take a stand. And of course, they're all like, "You're a dumb teenage kid. Just, you're going to cost us our job.
Right,
Shut up.
Right.
Well, some of the workers had started listening to him, and they're like, this kid might be onto something. So they try to start to unionize, but they're not sure what to do. So the few of them that agree to this turn to this young man, Jimmy Hoffa. It's like, help us. So then Hoffa decides that we're not going to take this anymore. So they were, like, one case, an example, they were unloading produce off these trucks just in the blistering summer Detroit heat, making very little pay, not getting bathroom breaks, water breaks. Right. They just all quit and left the produce to sit on the dock and rot.
Right.
Just took a stand.
Right.
And these grocery store chains losing money.
Right.
Basically, Hoffa would start taking a stand, get his name out there, and while he was a young man, he started to excel in a role as kind of a leader for workers' rights. Well, then as we get into his 20s or so, by 1932, Hoffa would refuse to work for a terrible manager and would quit the grocery store, allowing him to get busier in roles with union-type things and workers' rights. And then this is where it starts. He was then offered a role as an organizer with the local Teamsters 299 in Detroit, Michigan. So the Teamsters, okay, I've referred to that a couple times already. What is that? The Teamsters play a very tremendous part in tonight's episode. The Teamsters are what Jimmy Hoffa is known for. They are what Jimmy Hoffa was potentially killed for. So there's a lot of information about that, but the problem is people don't know a lot about Teamsters.
Right.
So I got Teamsters backstory information.
Okay. I, for one, don't know much about Teamsters.
Are you interested in?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I need a drink. Kurt, tell everybody a story while I take a drink.
One time, I was sitting in on a podcast with Jared, and someone said, and I can't say it. Yeah, there we go. See, I'm not very good at that.
I need a shit basket.
A shit basket?
You remember shit basket? Oh, shit pan.
Shit pan.
Because that's a terrible idea to let you fill time while I take a drink. Shit pan.
Exactly.
Shit pan.
One time,
Easter egg.
One time. All right.
Okay.
There was this dude named Jimmy Hoffa.
Shut up.
We want to know where the fuck he's at.
This is probably going to go down as one of my favorite episodes because we were supposed to record, then we were going to not record together and do a remote, and now we're here.
We want to know where the fuck he's at.
We're sitting in the living room instead of the kitchen. We got cords everywhere. I am OCD as shit about these cords with this equipment. We have cords everywhere.
I like it.
Potential fucking fire hazard over here.
Fire.
All right, one more drink. Fire. How did it go in Richmond? We started off on a straight line when we were recording, and fucking hard 90.
90s everywhere. The road was crooked, folks. But I had fun. It was a good time.
You want to go back?
Well, yeah, we're going back.
They want us to come up.
They want us to come back, we'll go back.
They want us to come back 3 or 4 times a year, every 3 or 4 months, every quarter.
Right.
Oh, boy.
What do they call it? The Easter egg?
The Easter eggs. Got to leave little snippets of...
Yeah.
We'll do it. Okay.
All right.
So,
Hoffa.
I have to tell the Teamsters backstory.
Yes.
Which it's very interesting, but it's kind of lengthy, but it all ties in.
Well, we got to know it.
Okay. Fist bump. Love you. Can't do a show without you, dick.
Without my dick.
Puss.
That's right, old girl Hattie.
So,
Hattie, old girl.
This fucking show. Everybody's turning it off, putting something else on now.
No.
Okay. So the Teamsters was at the time, and still is in 2022, a big-time labor union in both the United States and Canada. The Teamsters were founded in 1903 by the merger of 2 separate but similar entities. I couldn't avoid that in the mic. I apologize.
Dun, dun, dun.
Tell him I at least tried to cover my hand.
He did try to cover his mouth with his hand.
I just couldn't. Zero sugar Pepsi.
Tremendous belch, folks. Richter scale is...
This fucking episode.
What was that?
Are
Oh,
you
it was a Richter scale. All right.
If this was recorded in real time with stats, I could see people listening. We'd be down to one right now. That would just be each other's headphones.
All right, straighten out now.
Okay.
All right.
So the Teamsters Drivers International Union and the Teamsters National Union, they combined to find the Teamsters. In 1933, when Hoffa had been offered a job to work for the Teamsters, they had only around 75,000 members. As Hoffa would continue to impress in his first year with the Teamsters and his work with other union leaders to consolidate local truckers' unions and whatnot into big regional groups and everything, they would jump almost 100,000 in 3 years.
Wow.
And then they would jump to, here's a number for you, 420,000 by the middle of 39.
That's impressive.
That is impressive.
You gain a lot of steam.
Yeah. And by the time World War II had got here, post-war boom, you're looking at like over 1 million people in 1951.
Wow.
So, one thing I should mention is there's nothing really noteworthy about Hoffa and this particular tenure with the Teamsters until the late 40s. Basically, he's been a part of the organization for 14 to 15 years by this point, and aside from being elected to the Detroit president in 46, there's nothing really...
Right. We want to know what happened.
Well, we're
Jimmy
getting there.
Hoffa.
I got to tell the backstory. You're
It's killing me.
You're killing... Hey, suspense. Got to build it up.
Right.
So,
I got a couple theories.
oh, we're going to talk about this. But I got to tell a story before we get... You can't have meat and taters without the appetizer.
Right. Okay.
So the Teamsters would organize...
And if nobody's looking.
This is a great episode already. So the Teamsters would organize truck drivers and warehouse men nationwide. Hoffa played a major role in the union's use of quick strikes and boycotts and other means of leveraging unions to really build the Teamsters organization up. Now my computer's wanting me to reinstall. Bitch, remind me later. That's what I clicked.
Yeah,
So,
Hattie, old girl.
We can't do this right now.
Yeah, Hattie, old girl. Puss.
Basically, we're going to start talking about organized crime.
Right.
Okay, so the union's been corrupt since it was founded in 1903, and they're starting to be heavily influenced and controlled by organized crime. For Hoffa to be able to unify a lot of these unions together, he had to make arrangements with many gangsters. So when he was asking me off air,
right.
how did he get involved?
Right.
Well, this is when it really starts to
It gets
to
some
grow.
muscle.
And this is where Hoffa really starts to get known. So Hoffa really starts to get noticed in about 1948 alongside his friend Dave Beck, who made a big name for himself in labor rights and Teamsters organizations out on the West Coast. Fun fact, Beck would go on to become the president of the Teamsters for one term, from 52 to 57, replacing the former leader, Daniel Tobin. It all ties together, I promise.
I smell a rat.
Yeah, but in the 40s, he was just the equivalent of what would be considered an EVP inside today's organization. In a nutshell, people grew to like Dave Beck. People clamored for him to take control over the Teamsters. And the current president at the time, Daniel Tobin, didn't want this to happen. Therefore, the proverbial pissing contest over whose dick is bigger would start, right? Okay. So Beck's like, I got to beat this guy and take control of the Teamsters.
Okay.
So he partners with his friend Jimmy Hoffa.
Jimmy Hoffa.
Who Jimmy has been running Detroit. Beck's been on the West Coast. Beck understands that Jimmy's been getting a lot of things done around Detroit and other areas because Jimmy's got some muscle. Some muscle.
Yeah.
Some muscle.
Got a ticket to Jersey.
There you
Nothing in Jersey. All right, yeah.
There's several theories that Hoffa could be in Jersey to this day.
Why I said that, yes.
You should have seen his face. So, okay. So, together, Beck and Hoffa would announce a a raid on certain companies and other unions and the shit that they're doing wrong. This would continue to cause a further rift between current Teamsters president Daniel Tobin and Dave Beck, and it would eventually boil over with Daniel Tobin stepping down as Teamsters president in 1952, which guaranteed Beck, with the backing of Jimmy Hoffa and his silent muscle there in the background that nobody could see, would be on to become president. So you follow me so far?
Yes.
Okay.
Lead boots.
I have to tell this part.
I don't know.
Okay.
I'll give you a hard time.
Okay. Now, where this Teamsters story starts to get back interesting is that Dave Beck had so much bullshit to deal with from Daniel Tobin's previous regime, and he's not handling it all the well. While
so he had it all fucked up.
Yeah, he kind of walked it, like when, when a certain president has things running good, and then in 2020 you take another guy into office and he just kind of wrecks everything, and then you got to build back better.
Right.
Yeah. We don't talk politics here. Kurt, I'm over here just telling Kurt, let's go, Brand. We don't talk politics unless we're drinking.
Wake up, Joe.
But anyway, Beck's got his hands full. He's taken over as president of the entire Teamsters organization all across the country and North America, whatever. He's dealing with shit, but he's not paying attention to stuff over here. And all the while in the background, his friend Jimmy Hoffa sitting there thinking, I sure would like him to have him out of the way. I could do this job better. I know we're boys and everything, but this guy here is kind of a douchebag. Well, I could do this job a lot better. Okay, so where does this go? So this all comes after the 1952 IBT convention in Los Angeles, where Beck was elected president with Tobin stepping down, and Beck appoints Hoffa as his national vice president, basically his second in command,
right.
Which would guarantee that Hoffa would at some point become president of the Teamsters. Okay, so the IBT would move their headquarters from Indianapolis, Indiana, to Washington, D.C., taking over a big office building in the Capitol in 1955. Okay, we're backtracking a little bit. The staff was meanwhile enlarged. Why are you laughing at him? Why are you laughing at enlarged? Motherfucker, that was the words I put in there.
The staff was enlarged.
How are you making a dick joke right now?
Hey.
How dare you make a penis joke with my word choosing?
I'm sorry.
This fucking show's going off the rails already. I should have just phoned it in from home. I wanted to be here so I could look in your eyes while he's doing this so we could talk about it.
I'm sorry. I couldn't help it. The staff was enlarged, folks.
You made a penis joke. Jesus.
Well,
Okay, where the fuck am I?
Staff enlargement.
Maybe they took one of them fucking Blue Chew pills, huh?
Yeah, maybe.
It's like a chewable penis enlargement pill. Wow. It's a hard-on pill.
Hard-on pill.
Shout out BlueChew.com. Blue Chew, you should sponsor our show. Kurt's 53 years of age.
51.
51. Kurt knows
now.
about Blue Chew.
Easy now. What, Kaiser Steel here. Ting, 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 kitty, kitty, scratch it. Ding, 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 ding.
Wow, dude. We've lost every fucking spot.
What's that sound?
And Dutch said the C word last time. I wasn't even worried about that.
Definitely.
I was talking about hashtag tits, and he said, I asked my grandma what cunt was one time. You can't say. Well, I guess I just did, too.
Uh-huh.
Fuck it. Okay. So the whole point of me telling you this, you idiot, is because Hoffa was spending more time in Washington away from Detroit and more time to plot how to stab Beck in the back to take control of the Teamsters.
He got the muscle.
Hoffa also went out and got him a personal lawyer named Bill Buffalino.
That sounds like a lawyer. Buffalino.
I want you to say it one more time.
Bill Buffalino.
I want you to remember the name Buffalino.
Sounds Italian.
Because this is going to be attached to Hoffa years later.
Really?
I want you to remember the name Buffalino.
Buffalino.
Can you remember that for me?
Yes.
Okay. Bill Buffalino.
BB. Got
BB.
it.
So you remember I said a few minutes ago, excuse me, damn it, we are just not professional at all tonight. Stop it! Shit! It's like trying to teach my kids how to play cards. It's like, stop it, listen to me! We haven't seen each other in 2 weeks.
It's like playing cards with my brother's kids.
Yeah, it was fucking exactly Tombstone.
Yes.
Nerve-wracking sons of bitches like playing cards with my brother's kids. I love that movie. Val Kilmer, man. Tombstone, Doc Holliday. Yeah. Val Kilmer's Jim Morrison in the Doors.
Ringo. Looks like somebody just walked across your grave.
Oh, Johnny Ringo.
Yeah, that's a good movie, dude.
Okay.
All right.
So you remember I said Beck was going through some shit.
Right.
Hoffa viewed Beck as a simpleton and extremely weak to be around the Teamsters. So he began to publicly and privately challenge him and throw him under the bus, making him seem inadequate or underqualified to do his job. Oh, you won't laugh at inadequate.
But
I mean, you laugh at enlarge, but you hear the term inadequate penis or you won't even, I don't get nothing out of you at inadequate.
I was thinking about something else, I had to be honest with you.
Okay.
All right. I should have caught that.
God. So, he started doing this in 55, and Hoffa was hell-bent that come 1957 Teamsters elections, no matter if Beck had to just quietly go on a vacation.
What?
Dun, dun, dun. Dun. That Beck would not be in control of the Teamsters anymore.
Once again, he's got the muscle.
Yes. Nobody really understands it at the time.
Right.
It's kind of in the background a little bit, or so they think, but
right.
Big Brother's always watching.
Yes.
Hoffa's going to be like, I'm going to get it. So what's going on here is, as we're hitting in 1957, Hoffa disappeared in 75. Okay. So 57, 75, we are 18 years.
Right.
History is fixing to start being made for the future. Right here. Hell's fixing to be raised. So what am I talking about here? Well, we're still in this whole Teamster story, but now we got to talk a little bit about the Kennedy family.
I knew
this all is going to tie in.
Okay.
But before that, since we're just, I mean, we gotta have some sort of professionalism. We need to pay a bill. Got to keep this show focused. Because we are a bunch of idiots. We are not very focused. All right, here we go. Did you say fuckus or focus? A 1999 Ford Focus. So, guys, check out Glary Guitars. Check them out at glarymusic.com. Check them out on Facebook. They have a very responsive social media crew. Give them a call at 1-606-404-6286. That's 1-606-404-6286. Glary Guitars, affordable, reasonable instruments.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good quality.
I've
raved about them. You guys know all about them. Kurt loves mine.
Call them.
I'm covering my mouth so you don't shake the table again.
At least it ain't coming out the other end.
Yeah.
Thank goodness.
So, 2 United States congressional investigations would soon start to ramp up as we approach the end of the 50s, beginning of the 60s. Federal indictments for crime, fraud, and strict new federal regulations and policies regarding labor unions would soon come into play as well. Even starting to boost the career for Robert F. Kennedy. This would all play together. The old Kennedy family, the all-American family, right?
Yep, for sure.
Okay. Believing he needed additional votes to guarantee he would unseat Beck in the late upcoming Teamsters Union, Hoffa required the services of mobster Johnny Dio in New York City, and the two men created several...
Johnny Dio?
Johnny Dio.
You gotta be shitting me. Johnny Dio.
Dio.
That sounds
That sounds gangster
It
shit.
sounds gangster as shit, right?
Johnny Dio.
Johnny Dio.
So they pull a hootenanny and a hootie. They played a hooty hoo here and some ballots and just all this shit. And
Lo and behold.
they created fake papers to apply for fake charters from the International Union and the Teamsters. Basically, Hoffa's just, fuck it. I'm not even going to be an honest player anymore.
Right.
I'm going to take control.
Right.
Let's make no mistake about this. What happened to Hoffa's bad. Jimmy Hoffa was good as far as caring about the working people.
Right.
But when it come to fellow members of management and white suits, Jimmy Hoffa was a dirty son of a bitch. So
Cutthroat.
yeah, let's get this out of there right away.
Yeah.
So a major battle within the Teamsters broke out whether to charter the locals, and the media attention then would lead to the United States DOJ, the Department of Justice, and Senate committees getting involved and to say, what's going on over here? We're seeing a whole lot of money moving this way, some money moving this way. Some people are crying foul over here. Some people are crying cheating. Let's just, if you guys can't play like grown-ups, we'll just let old Uncle Dad's Senate get in over here. And
Right.
so now the floodgates are opened up. And this allows the United States Senate to establish the Select Committee on Improper Activities in Labor and Management, chaired by Senator John L. McClellan, which would come to be known as the McClellan Committee.
Ah.
Hop in your Google machines if you're a history nerd like me.
Good labor etiquette.
Kurt's not going to read that much.
No, I can't
But,
read that much.
The McClellan Committee, that's some good shit. And the committee, the chief counsel and investigator of the committee, Robert F.
Kennedy.
JFK's brother.
Wow.
So the committee would uncover widespread corruption in the Teamsters Union. Dave Beck fled the country for a month to avoid. He left for a month. He got back. He left for a month to avoid subpoenas before returning. Several of the paper locals that were not even legit charters were dissolved to avoid committee scrutiny. Several Teamsters staffers were charged with contempt of court, contempt of Congress. Union records were lost or destroyed. Wiretaps were being played in public on national television, in which the wiretaps, Dio and Hoffa discussed the creation of even more fakes. So evidence is starting to come out abounding with, hey, there's a lot of crooked shit going on here.
Right.
All the while, Hoffa's still in front of the camera, smiling, grinning like a Cheshire cat because he knows the American people still love him. And they do.
Right.
Jimmy Hoffa could have punched an infant in the face in 1960, and they would have kissed him and thanked him for it.
Was he kind of like the Robin Hood of the labor?
Not that, but he was as famous as anybody in Hollywood at the time. Like Hoffa, like that's why we'll get to some good Jimmy Hoffa. Just
Riddle.
James Riddle Hoffa.
Hoffa.
Okay. So in March of 1957, Jimmy Hoffa was arrested for allegedly trying to bribe Senate aides. Okay. So he denied the charges, but the arrest would trigger additional investigations and more arrests, and indictments would come over the following weeks. A week later, Dave Beck, who at the time is still currently president of the Teamsters, admitted to receiving an interest-free $300,000 loan from the Teamsters, which he never repaid. That's about $3 million today.
That's a lot of scratch.
That's a lot of scratch. I love when you say that because I always put that in there just so you say that. The Senate investigators claimed that the loans to Beck and other union officials in their business was bullshit because it had cost the union more than $700,000, about $7.1 million.
That's a lot of scratch.
Okay. Beck would appear before the McClellan Committee for the first time on March 25th, 1957, and would invoke his Fifth Amendment right. Kurt, what's the Fifth Amendment?
I don't know.
I plead
innocent.
I plead the Fifth.
Oh, plead the Fifth, yeah. Okay.
In front of this committee, he pled the Fifth on 117 different occasions. If you're saying I plead the Fifth 117 different times, I don't care if you're Jesus Christ sitting on the stand. I don't care if you're Mother Teresa. If you're saying it 117 times,
right,
you got something to hide.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
know what I'm saying?
know what I'm saying?
Know what I'm saying?
Know what I'm saying, G?
Yes.
So the McClellan committee would then turn its focus to Hoffa because they're like, okay, we're getting nothing out of Beck right now. Let's focus on the golden boy over here that's all nice and shiny in the public eye.
Right.
I love how you watched my hand when I threw it up there.
I thought you showed me something.
When I told that to Kurt, when I just said I'm like the golden boy, it's a sleight of hand. While something's going on over here,
watching these hands,
it's always watching over here. I literally took my right hand and hit it and was just squeezing my palm.
Look like he's playing with a booby.
Squeezing a stress ball.
I was watching
Squeezing. You like magic?
Oh, yeah.
Sleight of hand, right?
Sleight of hand, yeah.
While you're watching over here,
yeah,
something's going on over here.
Wait a minute. What else going on over here?
Is that the chair you sat naked in with your Cheetos?
Absolutely.
Why do they listen to us?
I don't know. Well, that's a good question.
Obviously, somebody does for some reason.
Naked Cheetos. Got Cheetos.
It's Ron White. Tell everybody that's why. It's the Ron White joke.
Yeah, the Ron White joke.
Are you sitting naked in a beanbag chair eating Cheetos? Yes, sir. That's my favorite Kurt Kelly story. What are you doing? I passed out in the chair the other night playing PlayStation, had the remote on my chest when I woke up. I'm like, was you naked with Cheetos too?
No.
I got an idea. How about you?
Because I ain't even going to say it.
How about you run the show?
No.
You take the keyboard and you run it. No?
No.
I put a lot of work into this over 2 weeks.
Well, we might as well have fun while we're doing it. That didn't sound right. Oh, boy.
I think... You remember that movie? Me and my mom watched it a million times. It was one of her favorite. Best Little Whorehouse in Texas.
Oh, yeah.
Do you need to go down there?
Maybe.
I mean, you made a lot of references tonight.
Maybe.
You feeling a little blue, bro?
No.
I just made him blush. His face right there, like he couldn't believe I said that. Well, Dutch,
little blue, huh?
Dutch said the C word last. So fuck. Okay. I guess we have no boundaries.
Kurt Kelly has blue balls, folks. What the fuck?
I'm done. Show's over. I'm done. Jimmy Hoffa the blue balls. How the hell did we get here?
Maybe that's how he died too. I don't know.
Oh God, they might have been black and blue.
No shit. Huh? Sorry, folks.
I don't even. Let me just try to gather myself here. Let's. You need to take a break. You want to take a break?
No.
Lucky to go out.
No.
Okay.
Good.
God, if I smoked weed. So, several legal developments, which I can't even talk about laughing.
Got him. All right, straighten up.
I'm thinking about Kurt Kelly's blue balls right now.
You guys straighten up out there. I'll see you guys.
Okay.
All right, here we go.
So, there'd be a lot of legal developments that would come out of this. Man, I move my hands when I talk, don't
You do, and I've got to watch for some reason.
At least I'm telling the story versus reading the story.
Right. Well, I mean,
if you go back and watch the video from the Facebook Live with After Two Beers, I think me and you were... I was doing that more than you was.
I was just sitting there going, a deer in the headlights, you know.
You liked that professional studio being in it, didn't you?
Pretty nice.
Yeah. I turn away from the mic every time.
We're currently experiencing tremors here in southern Indiana.
Alfordsville.
I better not say that we'll be posted everywhere. Ain't that many people listening.
No, I don't think so.
Hey, California, if you're listening, we want to know who you are. Right?
Whoa. What?
I said, California, we want to know who you are.
So, yeah, we picked up a couple downloads from Australia this week, too.
They're all might.
Australia.
Yeah, that's some feedback.
And we're picking up downloads again in Pennsylvania. Our top downloads now, all time, have come out of Indiana, Ohio, California, Pittsburgh, or not Pennsylvania, Georgia,
go Steelers,
Maryland, Russia, and France.
Damn.
The Russia thing's got to be a bot thing. I don't know.
Well, you never
But
know.
our top 8 downloads, 2 of them are international, Russia and France. But okay.
All right.
Back to Hoffa.
Where the fuck is he?
People are wanting to know where he is, and we're still talking about Teamster stuff. But we have to. We really have to.
You gotta build a story here. Yeah.
We really have to. So basically, this whole thing is going on with these lawsuits and these
Pop quiz.
So the McClellan Committee is taking over a bunch. They're out to get Hoffa. They're out to get the Teamsters. And eventually, Dave Beck decides, you know what, my goose is probably going to be cooked. I'm going to go ahead and retire. I'm going to bow out. So Jimmy gets elected president of the Teamsters. Immediately after his testimony in March 1957, Dave Beck would win approval from the Union Executive Board to establish a $1 million fund to defend himself and unions from the committee's allegation. Okay, basically, he goes before the Teamsters, and they're like, sure, you can take our money right out of here that we have to defend yourself. And, if anybody else needs defending, but make sure you take care of yourself first.
Right.
So, that $1 million, okay, that's about $10 million today. Scratch.
Lots of it.
You know what I put in my notes?
What's that?
Right here in my notes. And if I'm lying, may God strike me dead right now. It says, since I'm a money guy, that $1 million is roughly $10.1 in 2022 dollars. As Kurt says, that's a lot of scratch, right?
That's right.
So I put it in there.
Right
That's
on.
like I knew you were
Right
going to
on.
say it.
Right on. It is a lot of scratch.
Okay.
Right.
But now people inside the Teamsters Union were outraged at the amount of money that was taken out, which, I mean, if $10 million was being taken out to defend you, and
Right.
I probably would be upset too. But Dave Beck, even though he's retired from the teams, Beck's not out of hot water. And Hoffa's over here being the golden boy. Hoffa's about to get his goose cooked too here. So Beck's support would vanish. Even though he wasn't part of the Teamsters anymore, he still had friends. Like, his support's gone. And the Teamsters cracked down, we're not giving you any more money. So the McClellan Committee gets involved again. Beck gets called to testify before them again in May of 57. And additional interest-free loans and other illegal and unethical as fuck financial transactions are exposed, including paying for call girls and all sorts of other things.
Which I need right now, evidently.
Beck is indicted for tax evasion. So his legal troubles, had led him to retire, is what we'd said. And Hoffa would win the Union presidency. Let me skip ahead here. Technical difficulties.
One time.
No,
it's one time.
You're good. You're good. Okay. So basically, Beck resigns. Hoffa takes over. A federal district court would bar Jimmy Hoffa, though, from taking power unless he was acquitted in his federal wiretapping trial, which we talked about earlier with Johnny Dio, right? The ruling was upheld by the Court of Appeals, but the trial ended in a hung jury.
Hey, what did you look at me so funny for when you said
Tell everybody what I just did. I just dropped my head.
Yeah, you just dropped his head, folks.
The reason this is funny is because we're in Richmond. After 2 beers, wanted to record in 3 takes on their show. So after the second take, we went downstairs and Kurt was smoking a cigarette, and this was before I found out I could vape in the building. So I went out to hit my vape, and Kurt looks at me and he goes, Are we really going to record another one? I said, yeah. He goes, well, are you going to get your equipment out of the car? I said, no, they told me we could use their equipment. Kurt goes, well, I'm not prepared. You got anything? I said, no, I don't have anything. No. Kurt goes, well, what are we going to talk about? And I looked at Kurt, and he had a cigarette in his mouth, and I said, well, what's the one thing I don't need any notes for? Kurt dropped his head just like I did just now when I said hung jury, but Kurt went, fuck. Just hung his head because he knew he was in for wrestling.
But, as Dutch would say, wrestling. some wrestling.
Oh, man. I had a great time.
Yes.
So,
Hung jury. Which
sounds like a porno.
hung jury is what?
Can't reach a unanimous verdict.
Right.
So the trial would end in December 19th of 1957. So since there's no verdict, Hoffa would assume presidency and control of the Teamsters beginning on February 1st of 1958. So the man's finally in power. So now there's an organization called the AFL-CIO. It's the American Federation of Labor and the Congress of International Industrial Organizations. It's one of the biggest, if not the biggest, union in the entire country at the time. The vice president of that union was a guy who wanted to start shit with the Teamsters all the time. This guy wanted Hoffa completely away from Teamsters. This guy said Hoffa doesn't need to be in control of any union organization. He's making people like me look corrupt. Hoffa's he's a gangster. He's hanging with gangsters.
So he's stirring the shit.
Yeah, basically.
What happens when you stir shit, right?
Right. So the president of this organization, George Meany, gave an emotional speech advocating for the removal of the Teamsters and stating that he could only agree to further the affiliation of the Teamsters. Basically, these two organizations would not work together hand in hand unless Hoffa would be dismissed as their president. So, president of this union over here, George Meany, demanded Hoffa. Yeah, Meany.
Big Meany.
Yeah.
All right.
He demanded Hoffa step down, and Hoffa, who was just freshly in charge a couple months, said, we'll see. Kiss my ass.
He's got muscle.
Well, Hoffa's got some balls on him. At the time, they were bringing in, and I didn't do the math on this one, so, screw it, whatever it is. It's several million. But at the time, in 57, the IBT being affiliated with this other union was bringing them in $750,000. 750 G's. So you're talking several millions today.
Right.
Following his re-election as president in 61, so we're going to jump ahead here. Hoffa's been in control of the Teamsters for about 4 or 5 years now because they serve 5-year terms. Hoffa worked to expand the union. And in 1964, Hoffa succeeded in bringing virtually all the over-the-road truck drivers and warehouse workers together under the National Master Freight Agreement, which is something that's still in play today.
Right.
You laughed when I said master. You laughed.
Well, you said freight right after.
Man, what is with you tonight?
I don't know.
Good God.
I say it's some aphrodisiac or something. I don't know.
Who knew Hoffa would get Kurt Kelly so turned on?
Yeah. I want to know where the fuck he's at.
We're getting there. We're getting ready to wrap it up soon.
Nobody knows, though.
No, I gotta lace this story.
Okay.
What would it do if I got in here and just for 30 minutes we'd have a 30-minute episode like, hey, Hoffa's dead.
We don't know where the fuck he's at.
They sank him out near the Bermuda Triangle.
Ah.
I mean, how fun would that be?
That would be very fun.
They didn't sink him in the Bermuda Triangle.
No,
Boy, wouldn't that be fitting?
Wouldn't that be
awesome?
Yeah, no shit.
Where did Hoffa go? Well, they sank him in the Bermuda Triangle of all places.
Yeah. Huh. Damn it.
All
right, yeah. All right.
Just
Where's Jimmy?
So I'm looking here. So there's not really much to say here. As we're in the 60s now, Hoffa gets reelected to a third term as president.
Because he's doing a hell of a job,
yeah,
right?
he is.
Right.
And that's one thing I want to say. I spoke to my grandmother about this recently. Well, actually, no, I didn't. I just told her I was going to be talking about Jimmy Hoffa on the podcast, and she goes, "What's a podcast?" But my grandfather, who passed away last a year ago this month, my grandfather, he had spent some time as a truck driver. He always, when I had asked about Hoffa growing up, he spoke highly of Hoffa. And one thing we want to get out is that there's no gray with Jimmy Hoffa.
Right,
it's either black or white. People either loved him or they hated him.
Right.
But from what I can tell, to the majority of blue-collar working American people, Hoffa was like the greatest thing since sliced bread.
Right. We putting food on their table.
Or,
clothes on their back.
Yeah. To other people in management positions and in business, he was a ruthless, cutthroat savage.
Right.
He was intimidating, scary.
Right.
You do look at that son of a bitch's face. He does look like
James Riddle.
James Riddle. Riddle. Hoffa. Riddle.
I mean, it's got an intimidating ring to it. Like Johnny Dio.
Like, that man was chosen by God to die for something.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Hoffa gets elected to a third term. And he does something here. Or he approves something here. How should I say this? Hoffa approves an election as his vice president. This would ultimately be another one of his undoings because he appointed a man at this conference in the 60s down in Miami where they had their annual, their meetings and elections. He appointed a guy named Frank Fitzsimmons.
I smell a rat.
Frankie was a pro-Hoffa guy. Frankie was a Hoffa clone. He would do everything he did. But the problem is, as we will later find out, after Hoffa goes to prison, the mob gets extremely comfortable in there because although Fitzsimmons is a pro-Hoffa guy, he is much more of a pushover than Jimmy. So they can pull a lot more bait and switch on him.
Right.
And then, obviously the reason Hoffa's gone, one of the biggest reasons is they wanted to keep Fitzsimmons in power because he would just bend over and just, let him put it in there, no Vaseline all day long. Dry dock.
Yeah.
So Hoffa put him in place because if Hoffa had to serve jail term, he was pretty sure he could come in and then when he's ready to come back, this guy would step down.
Okay.
So where are we looking at here? We're in the mid-60s. So basically this is just talking about how the mafia has been involved with so much of the Teamsters things going on. Hoffa basically ended up giving the mob, the American Mafia, a blank check. Now, we are gonna do an episode down the road, or I'd like to, on the American Mafia.
Right.
There's 5 families in the American Mafia that are all ran out of New York. And, the Lucchese, the Genovese, the Gambino,
The Luigi's,
the Colombos, I can't think of the other one. But anyways,
better watch out. Somebody gonna part your eyebrow.
Oh shit, son! I ain't worried about it.
I know. Fuck with us.
There ain't no mob anymore these days. Dun dun dun. We'll see you sleeping with the fishes. But anyways,
Johnny Dio.
I don't think Hoffa realized when he was getting involved with the mafia, and especially when he became president and he had affiliated with them even more, he's essentially given the American Mafia a blank check. Because the Teamsters, you got to think about how many members is in there and what they're involved in. The Teamsters is a very wealthy organization.
Right.
And if you're getting access to their pension funds and you're going in as a blank check to get what you want, this starts to fund big ventures for the mob out in Vegas. Because the 50s and 60s, Vegas starts to blow up. It starts to grow. You're getting all these hotels and casinos. Caesar's Palace being one of them. Yeah. AC/DC.
Yes.
Yeah. So the pension fund also made several loans to associates and relatives of high-ranking Teamsters officials as well. A close associate of Jimmy Hoffa during this period was a guy named Alan Dorfman. The reason I tell you this is because Dorfman owned an insurance agency that provided insurance claims processing to the Teamsters Union and would later to be found out falsified insurance claims. So everybody in there is about getting their nut, man. Just getting their screw everybody else. Yep. Kennedy's in there. JFK's little brother or his big brother. I think it's his little brother. And they're just taking shit down. He's Big Daddy Dick here. Okay. Now, you've heard me for an hour now. Well, 45 minutes of this hour, we've talked about Teamsters. We're about ready to wrap up the Teamsters,
Okay.
but I got a little bit more
All right.
to set the story, if you'll let me.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay.
I'll try to behave.
Okay. So now, some of this, because of where I typed the notes in, some of this is going to tie back and jump forward. Like,
Right.
just roll with me,
Just
kid.
hop in your machine,
Okay.
your time machine. and
Hop
go
in
to
our
work.
hop in our time machines, guys.
Yep, there we go.
So Hoffa had first faced huge criminal investigations back in '57, like we talked about. Huge.
Right.
Huge.
Yeah, I follow you.
Think like the locker room, the Cleveland Browns, huge. Deshaun Watson, huge. Back in '57, with this whole part of the McClellan Committee, he was arrested for trying to bribe. John F. Kennedy was elected president in '60. That's when he appointed his younger brother Robert as Attorney General. Robert Kennedy, of course, was on the McClellan Committee, and eventually by the early '60s, he was on they called it a Get Hoffa squad. Oh yeah, so you get in your Google machine and just type Robert F. Kennedy Get Hoffa. It was an actual committee. It was I mean, it wasn't. It was part of the McClellan Committee, but it was kind of like an under the table organization.
I wonder who did him in.
They were.
You got to be shitting me. The Get Hoffa.
The Get Hoffa committee. Yeah.
And we wondered where he went.
I figured that. I figured you'd have something to say about that. There's a theory. We'll get to that.
Okay.
You're having a lot of fun with this.
Yeah.
See, I was worried you were going to think this episode sucked.
No.
Because there's a lot of backstory, but I have to have it.
But that's a pretty interesting point right there you brought up. Okay.
In May of '63,
committee.
In May of '63, Jimmy Hoffa gets indicted for jury tampering in Tennessee, charged with attempted bribery of a grand jury during his 1962 conspiracy trial in Nashville. He gets in a deep load of shit over this. He's convicted on March 4th, 1964, and they sentence him to 8 years in prison and a $10,000 fine, which is about $90,000 today. Not a whole lot of scratch, but more scratch than we'll see.
Right.
Okay. While on bail during his appeal, Hoffa gets convicted in a second trial held back in Chicago on July 26, 1964. He gets convicted on 1 count of conspiracy and 3 counts of mail and wire fraud for improper use of Teamsters pension funds and sentenced to 5 years in prison. So now he's looking at 13 years in prison.
Right.
Hoffa spends the next 3 years unsuccessfully appealing the convictions that were lobbied against him in 1964. His appeals were filed by his chief counsel, a St. Louis defense attorney named Morris Schenker. Schenker. Jewish.
Sounds it.
Oh, you can tell by looking at it, yeah. They reached the U.S. Supreme Court. That's nothing. He's of Jewish ethnicity. That's why, because Kurt looked at me as Schenker.
Yeah.
So he serves his prison. Starts serving his time on March 7, 1967, at Lewisburg Federal Penitentiary in Pennsylvania. Okay. When Hoffa entered prison, Frank Fitzsimmons, Frankie boy, he's named acting president of the union. And Hoffa planned to run the union from prison through Fitzsimmons.
Like El Chapo, huh?
Yeah, and although Fitzsimmons was a Hoffa loyalist and a fellow Detroit resident, longtime member of the T-99, he owed everything he had to Hoffa. Despite this, Fitzsimmons... Now, there's no proving that this come from the mafia. This was just... I got a big dick between my legs now. I'm in charge. Pretty much Fitzsimmons like... Yeah, you're in federal prison. I shouldn't be talking to you. This is my show now. I'll see you when you get out, Jimmy. Click. Hoffa's like, bitch, you better not.
Oh, no, he didn't.
Oh, no, he didn't. I wish I had no, he didn't. But
yeah, no doubt.
that is literally basically what happened in not so many words. Fitzsimmons is like, Jimmy's in federal prison. If I touch this, I'm going to go be right in there with him. That ain't happening. And by the way, I am acting president, so I am in charge, and we're doing this my way. So Hoffa's pissed.
Well, yeah.
Hoffa
He put
is
that guy in charge thinking
that he was gonna, and then when he got out, Fitzsimmons would just resign and Hoffa take it. Jimmy's pissed, like blowing a gasket. We're talking DEFCON 5 level shit in prison.
Right.
Okay. So let's see. Fitzsimmons then would also lose a little bit of power as he would be immersed into the American mafia culture. Basically, what I think happened there is they scared the shit out of him.
And said, we're going to do it this way.
And he frightened more than what Hoffa did.
Right.
So essentially at this point, even though you've got a president, I'll never, in my opinion, I'll go to my grave saying this, by this point when Hoffa goes to prison, the mafia is now running the Teamsters organization.
Absolutely.
Okay. So while still in prison and trying to control shit and getting nowhere because Fitzsimmons won't even take his calls, Jimmy Hoffa on June 19th, 1971 resigns as Teamsters president. And Fitzsimmons is officially elected president, not just appointed in 71. So now, that's pretty much it for the backstory of the Teamsters. So we made it.
Yes.
Okay.
Right on.
So, but we got some more pieces that'll tie in, but later. The whole purpose of this...
I mean, I'm hung up on the Get Hoffa committee.
It's basically what it was, yeah.
Well, I wonder what the Louisiana sheriff went to.
No. Boy getting lost in the Louisiana bayou.
About 45 miles.
He used to Thibodaux, Louisiana.
Thibodaux, yes.
Oh.
I don't know why that song popped in
Stop in a pretty wife.
Rather raised up a son that could eat up his weight in groceries.
Sure they're not talking about me? Named him after a man of the cloth. Called him Amos Moses. Come on, Amos. Now you got that stuck in my head. That's going to be our new show opening. What I tell you when I pulled in, I said the next time we change it, we're gonna go Turbo Lover by Judas Priest. And now you want me? Now I'm thinking about the start of Amos. I bet you could play that on your guitar.
No, maybe if I heard practice.
Okay, so the whole purpose of this McClellan committee was about fraud and organized crime and everything. The Teamsters had direct ties under the table in some respects, but some not so secret, with the American Mafia. Pension loans helping the Mafia start to take over Vegas, personal loans, anything they wanted. The Teamsters essentially were a blank check for the American Mafia. That's been established. So, but what you need to understand here is that this isn't all Hoffa's fault.
No.
The Teamsters was formed in like 1903 or whatever, I said 1907. They've had problems with corruption and the mob going back to Chicago and Al Capone days. So there's always been some shit going on.
Right.
Now, we're like 10 minutes away from meat and taters. You know, I can just see you getting excited.
Salivate.
But, so we've already had our appetizer.
Yes.
We just need to have a glass of white Zinfandel. We need to have a little glass of wine before our meat and taters.
Zinfandel?
Or a beer. How about either one? I'm trying to sound sophisticated. Cold beer? Okay. I want to talk about what happened after Hoffa was released from prison.
Okay.
Because he's released from prison, and then we've got a 2-3 year span before he goes missing, 4 year span. So a little less than 4 years
in prison.
No,
I don't think so.
Because Hoffa was still protected on the inside a little bit. So, well, at least for a while, he starts feuding with the mafia in prison. We're going to get to that.
Okay.
That's probably another big part of his undoing. Him and Jimmy basically told the mafia under no certain terms to not politically safe, cover your ears. Hoffa basically turned the mob in some aspects in prison to suck his dick, basically. Which, I mean, you can say that to anybody you want, but I don't know if I'd say it to the mafia.
No. It'd be part your hair for you, you know what I mean?
And not so many words, which we'll get to that. So December 23rd, 1971, he's a little less than 5 years into his sentence. Hoffa gets his sentence commuted for time served. He's released from prison thanks to President Richard Nixon.
Yeah, Tricky Dick.
Tricky Dick.
Yeah.
I like Nixon.
I do too.
I vote GOP. Leave me alone. I like Nixon.
His hand was forced.
So as a result, though, Nixon's a smart guy. Though Nixon's even like I said, Nixon's part of the Republicans. Nixon's smart though. Part of the terms of release was that Jimmy couldn't run for any sort of labor organization leadership role until 1980. He had a 10-year ban on him.
Okay.
Jimmy's like, oh, thanks, Mr. President. Sure. In the back of Jimmy's mind, he's like, fuck this. And you'll see within a span of 6 months, Jimmy's starting to scheme to get it taken away. Hoffa was awarded almost $2 million in a lump sum termination benefit by the Teamsters when he resigned. I forgot to do the math on that.
It'd be a lot of scratch.
It's a lot of scratch, yeah. Then something interesting happens. The Teamsters endorsed Nixon, a Republican, who is in his re-election bid in 1972. Which is funny because history would show that the Teamsters would typically support the Democrats. Okay, no big deal, right? We're all coming back around. As Hoffa regained his freedom, as I said, he was informed as conditions were released that he could not run for any labor, especially the Teamsters. They might let something else go, but you ain't getting the Teamsters till the 80s.
Right.
Because if he'd run, he'd win.
Right.
Guaranteed.
The people
loved him.
Right.
If he'd have come out and he would have ran, he would have won. So Hoffa lets it go for about a year and a half, and then by the time 1973 rolls around, Jimmy's like, I'm tired of being told what to do. So Jimmy's starting to lay the foundation for him to run for Teamsters office again. Well, that's going to be a problem.
Oh.
Okay, so Hoffa sued the United States government to invalidate the restrictions on him so that he could regain his power over the Teamsters. Now, John Dean, not James Dean, John Dean, who was a former White House counsel to President Nixon, was among those called on for depositions in the 1974 court proceedings. Dean had become famous as a government witness during the Watergate scandals that happened in 1973 with Nixon, okay? Hoffa lost his court battle since the court ruled that Nixon had acted within his powers by imposing a federal restriction on Jimmy because of his misconduct as a Teamsters official. Jimmy would face a lot of resistance in his reestablishment of power from...
So the president actually pardoned
Yes.
Jimmy Hoffa on certain
Nixon.
terms, right?
Nixon did, yeah. Nixon got him out. Tell me he don't have pull. That's what I'm going to say.
Right.
Jimmy Hoffa is not an ordinary man.
Right.
Okay. So Hoffa is starting to, like I said, the overwhelming public
loved him. Right.
Word's starting to get out through the underground and the gangster scene that, hey, old Jimmy is wanting to gain control of the Teamsters again. Meanwhile, old Frankie pushover Fitzsimmons over there
taking it up the butt.
Is taking it up the butt dry.
Yeah.
They're just pushing him over, and they like that.
Well, sure. Yeah.
So although they all used to be schmitting with Jimmy,
right,
and of course they find out about Jimmy's snafu in prison with some of the other mob guys, they decided Jimmy's not getting back in.
Right.
And in 1975, Jimmy Hoffa was working on an autobiography called Hoffa, The Real Story, which was published just a few months after his death or disappearance. The book is in reprint. It was just reprinted this year. So, there we go. Is this meat and taters or is this a little more yet? Damn. I guess.
And taters.
Okay, I still got a little bit for meat and taters, but I guess you could call this like a mini meat and taters.
I like mini meat and taters. Right.
Okay.
I like any meat and taters.
I'm telling you, this episode was going to be... It's a little bit long, but, I mean...
We're good.
Are you good?
Yeah, I'm good.
You're getting excited now, aren't you?
Well, yeah. I like me some meat and taters. Obviously.
Who doesn't, right?
Right.
No earthquake this time.
Rimmers.
Hoffa's plans to regain leadership of the Union were met with opposition from a lot of the mafia. One of them in particular was Tony Provenzano. Now we're getting into the nicknames. Anthony Provenzano, called Tony Pro. Now, Tony Pro had been a Teamsters local leader in New Jersey, and then a national vice president of the union during Hoffa's second term as president. Provenzano and Hoffa had once been friends. But they became enemies while in federal prison at Lewisburg in the 60s. In 73 and 74, Hoffa, and I'm telling you this so I can tell you this. We're going to go forward so we can go back.
Okay.
In 1973 and 1974, Jimmy Hoffa had the balls and the nerve. So if I'm saying it like this, you know Hoffa pissed him off.
Right.
Hoffa had the balls and the nerve to ask Tony Provenzano and his crew.
Hey, Tony.
Tony, you back me. You back me to run for office again, Tony.
Mamma mia.
He had the balls and the gall and to ask for his support to regain position. Provenzano refused and threatened Hoffa, saying that he would pull his guts out, kidnap his grandchildren, and feed him to the fishes.
Yikes.
Now, Provenzano was a capo regime, a capo. He's like one of the third or fourth in command. That's how it works in the American mafia. He was part of the Genovese family, crime family. It's long been argued that the Lucchesi and the Genovese were the two biggest crime families, and then John Gotti got involved with the Gambino family. But at least two of Provenzano's union opponents had been murdered, and people who had ever spoken out against Tony Pro had wound up assaulted or dead. So, okay, hang on. So other mafia figures who became involved were Anthony Tony Giacalone, okay, and he was a real high-ranking Detroit mafia official. He had a younger Nutter Butter. He had a younger brother named Vito Jack.
Vito, there we go.
So yeah, you're getting into this now, aren't you? Look, yeah. The FBI is under the belief to this day that these two men, Tony Giacalone and his brother Vito, were trying to mediate the differences between Hoffa and Provenzano. And again, I'll get to why there's differences needed to be mediated. Again, like I said, we jump forward to tell you about this. So they met several times with Hoffa, trying to set up a peace meeting with Provenzano. At first, Provenzano wanted nothing to do with Hoffa. Hoffa wanted nothing to do. They were trying to set up a peace meeting. Jimmy Hoffa's son would later say his dad was becoming increasingly afraid of the Giacalone brothers, even though he semi-trusted them. So here we go. So this beef between Hoffa and Tony Provenzano, it started over money. Go figure. We're talking about the mafia. What? Right? Okay. Are you good?
Yeah, I'm good.
I think you're actually interested this time.
I'm interested.
Okay. So this beef starts over money because, like, what else are gangsters going to fight about? It's money or women, right? Okay.
My old lady.
Yeah. The main issue in this, the funniest thing ever, was that they're both serving time in federal prison in Pennsylvania. Tony gets word that Jimmy Hoffa and his family are still being paid and receiving pension funds from the Teamsters, while Provenzano and his family are not getting paid. Okay. So, tell me who would be upset by that.
Right.
I'd probably be a little pissed too.
Yeah.
Okay, we're the same organization. Why are they paying you and your family when we're locked up for basically the same shit and I'm not getting paid?
Right.
So, and that's exactly what witness accounts in Lewisburg Penitentiary said. Hoffa confronted him. Tony confronted Jimmy Hoffa about it, and he said, why is your family better than mine, blah, 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 blah. Why is my family not receiving compensation? Why are we not getting dick when you are? To which Hoffa, calmly, in front of a room full of inmates, looks at Provenzano in the face, smiles, and say, it's because of irresponsible fucking pricks like you I'm even in this place to begin with.
Whoa! What?
Yeah, you should see your face.
His balls are like way bigger than mine.
It's because of irresponsible fucking pricks like you I'm even in this place to begin with.
Yeah.
Which, in a way...
Yeah, he's right.
Jimmy's kind of right.
Right.
He shouldn't have got in bed with the mafia, but they were doing their bullshit. And
right.
So...
Holy
So who
shit.
really knows?
Holy
but I
shit.
guarantee you, this amped this shit up.
Oh, yeah, 100-fold, dude.
Oh, God, right?
Ay.
So, one last thing I want to cover real fast is just a little bit more of a prelude of sorts of what's going to happen here. And we're going to go with some dates here on this prelude. So, in 1972, he's already been released from prison.
Okay.
Hoffa announces his intention of unseating Fitzsimmons, and the mob finds out about it. And
Well, yeah, because there goes their blank check.
well, yeah,
right.
yeah, the mob, because not saying Jimmy wouldn't get back in bed with him again,
Right.
but Jimmy's got to watch his ass
Yeah,
so he don't
knowing
go to
what he
jail.
knows now,
So he might still let them stick their hands in the Teamster's pocket, but he's kind of going to be like,
Right.
hey,
Right.
give me a reach around while you're doing it. At least let me get something out of this. You know what I mean? Like, so several people from the underworld get in touch with Jimmy, like, hey, the mob says it's probably in your best interest to just go ahead and set this out, Jimmy. You had a good run.
Oh, hell no.
He's getting warnings now.
Right.
Friendly advice. We shoot to the winter of 1974. Hoffa has his parole restrictions removed, and he embarks on a media blitz, campaigning that he's going to take back the Teamsters and blasting the mafia and promising to rid the entire union rank and file of mob influence if and when he gets back in office. Okay, so, all right, you're giving me that look. So, summer of 1974, at the mob's urging, the Teamsters tapped legendary labor union goof, dumbass, Roland Big Mac McMaster,
Oh, boy.
a Hoffa confidant, and his number one enforcer in their union to form an anti-Hoffa squad. What is up with people forming Hoffa squads?
I don't know. It's
Robert F. Kennedy and now the mob. You got a Get Hoffa squad. You got an anti-Hoffa squad. The whole
hard being Jimmy Hoffa.
poor Jimmy Hoffa.
Yeah.
The whole purpose of this squad is to disrupt Hoffa's campaign. They're just out to make him look like a clown.
From what I'm setting, it looks like he should have never gotten involved with the mob. I mean, come on. But
So here we go. We are in
it would have been nice to have a little bit of muscle, but
in the spring of 75, Hoffa finally decides, he puts out word that he would not be opposed to a squashing of the beef with Tony Pro, who Hoffa realizes he needs on his side for a successful Teamsters presidential bid the following year, being that Tony Pro was pretty much in control of all the votes on the East Coast.
he said, hey, Tony.
Hey,
Hey, Jimmy.
Well, I don't know what happened between the spring and the summer, but here we go. July 10th, 1975. The Detroit Teamsters executive, Richard Fitzsimmons, not Frankie, his car is bombed in the parking lot of Nemo's Restaurant, a popular $2.99 Teamsters bar. His dad was Frank Simmons. They ate inside at lunch. Rumors were abounded saying that Hoffa put out murder contracts on both Fitzsimmons and others. However, it was later speculated, more probable, that it was the work of the anti-Hoffa squad, Hoffa,
Right.
to make it look like he was going completely nuts.
Peppercorn.
Okay. Now, here's where we get interested. So Hoffa disappears on July 30th. So
Okay.
about 3 weeks before, it's rumored that somewhere between July 10th and July 12th of 75, the decision to kill Jimmy Hoffa is made, and the murder contract is signed off by many mafia bigwigs in Michigan, Illinois, New York, and Pennsylvania. Okay. July 12th through the 26th, Hoffa takes meetings with, the Giacalone brothers, Tony Jack and Vito, capos who are, big time in Detroit. They agree to a set down on the afternoon of July 30th at a restaurant called the Maucus Red Fox in Bloomfield Township, which is a suburb of Detroit. And the last big thing that a fully vetted FBI informant placed Tony Giacalone and Tony Pro and Roland McMaster all having dinner at a group house in Detroit, a late-night hangout with Provenzano claiming tomorrow is going to be a great day, gentlemen. Now, I couldn't fact-check that personally,
Right.
so I don't know, but this was supposed to be the day before Hoffa disappears. So now, what we're going to do is we're going to take a break, because I have to go pay my water bill. I have to pee. And then we're going to get into meat and taters about how Hoffa disappears, and then we're going to get into what you want to talk about.
Where the fuck is Jimmy Hoffa?
Where is he? What theories are good? What theories are bad?
Yeah.
So we're going to take a break.
Yep.
Probably I'll let Luck out.
Yep.
I'm going to stuff my face with a piece of pizza.
Right on.
Okay.
Yep.
We'll be back. And we're back.
Magic.
Little magic. So meat and taters.
Yes.
So you ready?
Yeah. Is it gravy too?
Oh, there's the gravy will be all the theories.
Hey, there you go.
So,
there you go. Right on. Give me some.
Let me get a little wet the palate here with a little bit of water, and then because we got a lot.
My mouth's dry too.
You got a little soda?
My mouth's real dry.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why.
Huh? Wonder.
Huh. Well, you know, you must be thirsty. Huh? But I'm all right.
Okay.
Here we go.
All right. Here we go. Jimmy Hoffa.
Hoppa.
So Jimmy Hoffa disappeared. Damn it. So Jimmy Hoffa disappeared July 30th, 1975. He had gone out in the meeting with Tony Provenzano and Anthony, Tony Giacalone. Anthony and Anthony, right? The meeting was due to take place at 2 p.m. at the Maucus Red Fox restaurant in Bloomfield Township, which is a Detroit suburb. I've told you this.
Right.
So the place was known to Hoffa. It had been the site of the wedding reception for his son. So this is a well-visited place.
Okay.
This is the type of place where you don't get in unless you're in a suit.
Right.
Suit and tie.
Right.
Okay, this is $5 shit. And this meeting was supposed to go down because in the days following Hoffa's disappearance, in his calendar at home, he had the note 2G or TG 2 p.m. Red Fox, which meant Tony Giacalone. Now, Hoffa would leave his home at 1:15 that afternoon. Before heading to the restaurant, he stopped by the office of his friend Louis Lintill, who was a former president of the Teamsters 614 local and who now ran a limousine service. These two men had been enemies early in their life and careers, but they eventually had become close friends. When Hoffa left prison, Lintow had become Hoffa's unofficial secretary and had arranged a dinner meeting between Hoffa and the Giacalone brothers on July 26, which is when they informed him of the July 30 sit-down with Tony Pro. Lintow was out to lunch when Hoffa stopped by, and so Hoffa talked to some of the staff and left a message for Lintow before he left for the Red Fox. Now, between 2:15 and 2:30 that afternoon, a very pissed off Jimmy Hoffa called his wife from a payphone in front of the hardware store, which is directly behind the Red Fox restaurant, complaining that Giacalone had not shown up, and it stood him up. One thing about Jimmy Hoffa, if you listen, the one thing he hated more than anything was people being late.
Right. Tardiness.
Yeah. He did not stand for tardiness.
You better be prompt.
You better be prompt. If you're on time, you're 5 minutes late.
Right.
So his wife told him she had not heard from anyone, so he told her he'd be home by 4 p.m. to start grilling supper that night. Now, several witnesses had saw Hoffa standing by his car, pacing the restaurant parking lot, very agitated. In fact, two men approached Hoffa, recognized him, and they stopped and had a conversation with him briefly in the parking lot. We would find out the next day. Hoffa made a call back to Lintow's office, which he complained that the men were late. He was very frustrated, and Lintow gave the time as 3:30 p.m., even though the FBI suspected that the call was way earlier, based on the timing of other calls. The FBI would estimate that Jimmy Hoffa left the location without a struggle,
So, okay.
around 2:15 to 2:50 p.m. Witnesses report seeing Hoffa in the back of a maroon Lincoln or Mercury car with three other people in it.
The Giacalone brothers.
In the days and years since,
Vito did it.
before we get to, we're still meat and tears. Before we get to the gravy,
Right.
In the
I
years
just love gravy.
and days following, at 7 p.m. the next morning, Jimmy Hoffa's wife called her children to say that their father had not come home. On her way home, Hoffa's daughter claimed she had a vision of her father, who she was sure was dead. She said he was slumped over and wore a dark-colored short-sleeved polo shirt. It mystified her since, although she could have not possibly known that prior to her arrival, the clothing in her vision was exactly what Hoffa's wife claimed he was wearing when he left
We
the
need
house.
to go a little bit deeper into the girl's dream there. Therein lies Jimmy Hoffa.
She claimed to
That's
see him
fucked
what
up.
he was wearing, and she hadn't been around. This woman was married with her own children at this time. Hoffa had grandchildren. And then come to find out when she told family and relatives about the dream, her mother said that's the exact clothes he had on the day he left the house.
No. Well, then, case closed. Just ask her where he's at.
They don't accept psychic readings in court.
Well,
Even if that would have never held up in court.
That's
Not like they're ever going to court, but
is
like,
that just coincidence?
well, some people are gifted, bro. At 7:20 that morning, Lentau went to the Marcus Red Fox restaurant, and they found Hoffa's Pontiac unlocked in the parking lot. No sign of Hoffa or any indication of what happened to him. He called the police, who later arrived. The Michigan State Police were then brought in after being contacted by Detroit PD, and the FBI was then alerted. At 6 p.m. on July 31st, Hoffa's son filed a missing persons report, and they had offered a reward of $200,000 for any information. The primary piece of physical evidence obtained in the investigation was a maroon 1975 Mercury Marquis, which belonged to Anthony Giacaloni's son, Joseph. The car had been borrowed earlier that day by Charles Chucky O'Brien. O'Brien was like the third child of Jimmy and Joe Hoffa, as he was a foster son. Although relations between the two had soured, nobody's expecting him to have committed a crime, or so they don't think. Well, on August 21st of 1975, so almost a month after the disappearance, police dogs identified Hoffa's scent in the car, specifically strongly
In the trunk.
coming from the trunk of the car that nobody could ever seem to explain.
Case closed.
Now, here's where it gets more twisted. Tony Giacaloni and Tony Pro both denied having scheduled a meeting with Hoffa and were found not to have been anywhere near the restaurant that day, as they set themselves up with alibis. Tony Pro told investigators he was playing cards with Stephen Andretta, Thomas Andretta's brother. We'll get to the Andretta brothers in a minute. But he was playing cards with Stephen Andretta in Union City, New Jersey, the day Hoffa disappeared. Despite extensive surveillance and bugging, investigators found that the mafia members whom they thought were involved were unwilling to talk about Hoffa's disappearance even in private, which means everybody's thinking shit's bugged. Nobody's going to speak. December 4th, 1975, a federal investigator in Detroit said in court that a witness had identified 3 New Jersey men as having participated in the abduction and murder of Jimmy Hoffa. The 3 men were close associates, almost soldiers, of Tony Provenzano, known as Thomas Andretta, Salvatore Bruglioglio, and his brother
guy named Salvatore.
and his brother Gabriel.
Yeah.
Sally Bruglioglio was called Sally Bugs, who was a known hitman for the Genovese crime families and other mob families. Well, it gets even deeper, puss. In 1975, Michigan Attorney General Frank Kelly went to Waterford Township. No relation. To supervise an unsuccessful digging expedition for Hoffa. After years of investigation, including numerous law enforcement agencies, including the FBI, officials have not reached a definitive conclusion as to Hoffa's fate and who was involved.
It don't sound like there was really that much investigation going on.
We'll find out about that in a little bit. Hoffa's wife, Jo, would pass away in 1980. And on December 9th, 1982, Jimmy Hoffa was declared legally dead by Oakland County, Michigan judge. Okay.
Nobody.
Hang on. Nobody. We got... Okay, so... Oh, yeah. I got 2 more paragraphs, and then in bold letters, I got... Okay, why are you giving me that death... Oh, wait. I don't want to ruin the joke. So in 1989, Kenneth Walton was the agent in charge of the FBI's Detroit office and pretty much the lead contact on the Hoffa case. He said, I'm comfortable... He's told this to the Detroit newspaper. He said, I'm comfortable I know who did it, but it's never going to be prosecuted because we would have to divulge confidential informants. Well...
CIs, huh?
Yeah. In 2001, the FBI, thanks to DNA technology, would match a hair taken from the car with a hair taken from the private brush of Jimmy Hoffa, which said that Hoffa had been in the car that day.
Uh-huh.
So maybe 20, 30 years ago when they were dog sniffing, he really was in the car. In June of 2006, the Detroit Free Press published the entire Hoffa's memo, a 56-page report which was prepared by the FBI for a January 1976 briefing on the case. I read this memo.
He's in Lake Michigan somewhere.
I read this memo. I was in the hotel room up in Indianapolis 2 weeks ago, work. 2:30 in the morning, sitting here reading this memo because I knew what we were going to...
Right.
I read through 56 pages of documentation.
Oh, shit.
And it reads like a who's who. It lists... You got mafia bosses in Pennsylvania... in, Chicago and Detroit, and of course the 5 mafia families out there. I mean,
they're never going to roll on each other, neither.
No. So, anyways, the memo claimed that they couldn't prove anything, but they believe Hoffa was murdered at the behest of the crime families because they didn't want him to regain power of the Teamsters. Now, as of 2021, digs are still periodically conducted in the Detroit area. And recently, we have some Hoffa news that just broke about 2 months ago, which we'll get to at the end of the episode. They didn't find him, so don't...
Oh, damn it.
Come on, if they'd have found him, we would have all heard about it.
Right.
Think about that.
And we would be doing a show right now.
We wouldn't be doing a show right now.
Okay.
Now, one thing I did want to point out is Scott Bernstein. That name don't mean shit to you. He's a great author, journalist, and a huge crime buff. Loves true crime. He made an argument, very convincing, and you can hop in your Google machines and everybody and find this. There might even be a clip on YouTube, I thought at one time. I could be wrong. He made a claim about 3 years ago that Tony Prohl's role in this entire case was just acting as a lure to get Hoffa out, that Tony had forgiven Hoffa for essentially, basically telling him to kiss my ass, right, suck my dick, or whatever he said in prison. So... all right, folks, that's it. That's all the time we have for Jimmy Hoffa tonight. So,
bullshit.
Why you giving me that death glare?
Yeah, because I want to know some theory. Damn it.
Well, okay, let's.
I'm coming up with a few as I'm listening.
Okay, well,
here,
that's what we're going to talk about. Can we go ahead real fast?
Yeah.
Okay. So,
I'm out.
He thought I was going to end the episode right there.
I'm out.
So, guys, check out Main Street Designs LLC in Jasper, Indiana. They're a great group of people. They've offered to make our logo for us many times, and I've never got with them. I don't even know if that offer's still good. But check with them. They're a small business, family-owned business in Jasper, Indiana. They specialize in laser engraving and direct-to-garment printing. They offer vinyl decals, baby blankets, stuff for your tumblers, the whole works. Check them out on Facebook or give them a phone call at 812-661-7765. That's 812-661-7765.
Okay, fucker.
God, you thought if I'd have, if I'd have shut the episode down right there, I'd have been missing. I'd have been missing just like Hoffa.
I'd have fired you.
You should have seen your face. I was like, what I put in the notes was okay, folks, that's all the time we have for tonight. Thanks for coming out. What? Why are you giving me that death glare, Kurt? You want more Hoffa talk? Oh, you want to discuss and hear some of the theories surrounding his disappearance?
I want to hear some of them, yeah.
I got you covered, pal. We're going to discuss multiple theories from the most credible to the most laughable.
I know which one I'm sticking with.
You're thinking his body's wet.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to start with one of my favorite theories. And I say this favorite just because it's a cool theory. The old Giant Stadium.
Yes, I've heard this one, yes.
Okay.
Possibility.
You could say that this is probably the most famous Hoffa theory.
Right.
Okay. I figured I would cover this one first just because it is. To me, it's probably the most laughable. Not laughable. The laughable one's the one that he was alive. He just checked.
Right.
But, which we'll get to that too. But, like I said, the notes are 90% finished. But my phone's been hot spotted to this laptop for 2 hours now, so I can Google anything we need.
Right.
But basically, going on about this here, and we're doing good. I thought this would be a longer episode. We're an hour and a half in. And we're really good. We're going to go back to 1988 or 1989 here. Okay. So we're 15 years after Hoffa disappears, 13, 14. There was a self-proclaimed ladies' man and a mob hitman called Donnie Francos, who went by Tony the Greek. I love these mob nicknames.
You got to.
So Donnie Francos, known as Tony the Greek, he did an interview that was published in Playboy magazine, of all places. Okay. Franco spilled his guts in this interview.
Did it.
Huh?
Hugh Hefner did it.
Why would Hugh do it?
Maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe he had one of these bunnies. I don't know.
So, Tony the Greek claims that Hoffa was shot to death by a gang called the Westies, who were found and led by a name you might have heard of, a gangster by the name of Jimmy Coonan. So, Jimmy Coonan, to me, Coonan was a wannabe mob guy, but he was just more regulated to a street gangster.
Right.
But they were some of the most notorious thugs, gangsters, and hitmen for members of the mafia that I've ever seen. These guys, Coonan and these guys, originally wanted Francos to pull off the Hoffa hit. Unfortunately for them, Francos was locked up. He was incarcerated at the time.
Huh.
So Francos says he told the FBI in 1986 that the former Teamsters boss was shot to death in a Mount Clemens home not far from Detroit, in a Mount Clemens home by New York mob boss Jimmy Coonan, gangster, whatever. Franco said Coonan and another person involved in the shooting told him about it. Coonan shot Hoffa twice in the head with a silenced .22 caliber pistol. I want to point something out. In all these theories that we're going around, I've come to believe over the years that I think there might only be one or two people that actually know what the fuck happened.
Right.
Because everybody that's affiliated with the mafia that has a different account, which means either they're all full of shit or they're all trained to give everybody the runaround.
Which is all, yeah.
They're all trying to give the runaround.
Cover the tracks for the real killers, yes.
But in every single fucking theory out there about Hoffa that involves him being shot, every time it's 2 shots to the back of the head. That is the one consistent thing. I want to point this out. In every single story that goes around involving Hoffa being shot, and there's multiple theories about him being shot by different people, every theory is at 2 taps to the back of the head.
Why 2? I mean, why would they
that's what I'm saying.
Why would they pick a caliber
that's
would
like
do the
one of the
trick
most
one, you know?
That's one of the most oddly consistent things to be consistent about.
22?
I'm not saying it was a 22 in every but in this particular theory it was a 22.
Right.
But every one, it's been 2 taps to the back of the head.
Which would do the trick. The 22 would do the trick, but
I mean, my dad carried a 22 as his personal carry for years when I was a kid. I mean, if you get close enough, you're still going to,
it would be as much
you're still going to check out. No, you're still going to check out. It's going to get it done.
It'd be gruesome there, but it would be as much splatter or...
It's going to get it done.
It's going to get it done.
But anyways, Francos told Playboy that Coonan, aided by a man named John Sullivan, another alleged New York hitman, dismembered Hoffa then with a power saw and a meat cleaver, bagged the body parts and stuffed them into a freezer. And we're gonna get to my opinion on each theory at the end of each theory.
We all ate him at Burger King.
5 months later, Franco says the bags were trucked to Giant Stadium construction site in East Rutherford, New Jersey. This was before the new, this was when Giant Stadium was being constructed in 75. It's long since stated, Franco said, that Hoffa's remains were buried in cement under what is Section 107 near the football field's end zone. The magazine printed a stadium diagram marking the spot with the headline, Hoffa Goes Deep. Now, Francos is in federal witness protection program as he is supposed to testify At the time of this writing, he was supposed to testify against New York Mafia kingpin John Gotti. Now, Kenneth Walton, which we talked about earlier, who said he knew who he thought it was, Kenneth Walton in 1985 challenged Franco's story, saying, quote, "During the time I was in charge, which included the period when this guy claims he talked to an FBI agent about the case, no information ever came to me dealing with the Hoffa matter that had any credibility whatsoever." Now, in the Playboy article, Don Francos would claim that Chucky O'Brien was paid $1 million to lure Hoffa into this house in Mount Clemens. Hoffa was in the front seat. Sally Buggs, Sal Brugliario, was Drew in the driving. Chucky O'Brien was in the back because Hoffa wouldn't trust nobody in the back, only Brian. One other thing about a lot of these theories, they all involve the same thing. Hoffa got in the car with three other men.
Right.
Hoffa would not get in a vehicle without somebody he knew because by this point,
he'd already pissed.
He pissed some people off, but by this point, certain people had reached out to Hoffa like, "Hey, you might want to watch out what's going on." So Hoffa's not getting in this Pontiac.
So there ought to be
this Mercury. He's not getting in this Mercury without somebody in there that he's comfortable
you would
with.
think there would be a struggle then, right?
Right. And because witnesses saw him physically get into this car. That's what they reported. There was never anybody that saw. No.
Okay.
So there was no struggle. So he would have got in the car had this Chucky O'Brien character been in the car. Because Chucky O'Brien, like I said, was like the third child for Jimmy and Joe.
I bet you set him up somehow. Like I bet you Giovanni or whatever would want to meet you somewhere else, maybe.
Okay. So okay. Chucky O'Brien at the time, who's passed away just within the last few years, I think that was Chucky that passed away a couple years ago. Somebody recently involved with the Hoffa case just passed away within the last couple of years. Chucky would claim that Franco's story was 100% bullshit. He said for 14 years now, this is, like I said, the story's going back in 89. He said for 14 years, I've told people I drove the car that picked Hoffa up that day. Now I'm in the back seat. This is complete bullshit. Francos would tell Playboy magazine that Anthony Provenzano, the New Jersey Union leader, member of the Genovese crime family, and a reported mafia figure, would order Hoffa killed. The reason being was because Hoffa had threatened to expose ties between the Teamsters and the mob. And, of course, Provenzano had the beef with Hoffa and the disrespectful things and what was going on while they were in prison. Now, these is my words here.
Okay.
I don't put a lot of faith in this. I mean, it's really sad to say something about somebody dying's cool, but this is a cool mob story. It is.
It is, yeah.
The Giants scored a touchdown on Sundays. Hoffa's right there in the concrete, right there on TV to see it every day, right there in front of everybody's eyes. Like how sick is the mob? Like them guys would get it. Them guys.
Think about if this is true. The guys doing the construction. Here comes this bag out.
Okay.
So
what am I saying? So when Giant Stadium is being under construction, what's the one thing, Kurt, that you know about mafia stories and everything? They do a lot. No. Don't think about this. They do a lot of illegal activities, but they also have fronts where they're involved in a lot of legitimate businesses.
Yeah, right.
Do you know who happened to be in deep with the construction of Giant Stadium?
Frank Sinatra. Oh.
The Genovese family.
The Genovese family.
In specific, the concrete trucks.
Huh.
They owned the concrete business that was doing the concrete.
Went to.
So, but I'm not sold on this, and I'll tell you why. You mean to tell me that you're going to freeze a guy's remains over 5 months before you move him? So you're banking on whatever freezer you put him in, and you can't. Whatever freezer you put him in, whether it's in an industrial environment or in a deep freeze in somebody's garage, that somebody's not going to come snooping.
Right.
Do you imagine the amount of people you're going to have to scare the shit out of and pay off to keep this a secret?
Right.
So you mean to tell me you're going to keep a guy hidden in a freezer for 5 months, and then You're going to put him on a truck or in the trunk of a car, either one.
Right.
You're going to take him 600 plus fucking miles trucking across interstate lines, which is a hellacious another felony if you get caught.
Right.
And then you're going to have to make sure the timing lines up to where you can get him put in there and you can make sure that concrete is poured as soon as he's put in there.
That's a pretty tough order, that'd be my guess.
Now, the FBI didn't put a lot of faith in this either because, as you know, the Giants opened the 2011 NFL season with a brand new stadium.
Yeah.
So when MetLife was taken down in 2009, 2010, the FBI didn't even bother to come look.
What the fuck?
They did not bother to come. Well, I take that back. Let me clarify. If they did investigate, they didn't investigate far enough because the demolition crew only went down 4 to 6 feet when they tore down, and it was rumored that for this here, Hoffa was put down at least 10 feet, if not double.
Really?
Now, to the best of my knowledge, if the FBI did any investigating on this, it wasn't very much.
Well, that would have been a no-brainer to check that out, right?
I mean, what do you think? Where do you rank this theory? You sold on this? It's okay. It's just opinion, man. We're never going to know. Tell me how much faith you'd put in this theory.
I don't know. I don't put too much in it because, like you say, it's just a lot of work.
You're going to have to pay people off, make sure people don't get in the freezer.
Right.
Or scare the shit out of people.
Pay the construction people off, too. I mean,
yeah.
Well, here comes some body parts rolling out of the cement truck.
But what sells this theory is the fact that Genovese was one of their legitimate fronts was construction. But even taking that out, say they didn't involve in the construction, they did own 100% validated the concrete trucks that were pouring the concrete.
That makes it look suspicious, dude. It does make it look pretty suspicious, right?
Okay.
But maybe that's all done to lead us away from the real.
So, okay. So you ready for another theory?
Yeah.
So this one is actually one of my favorite theories as well. And when I was first learning about Hoffa when I was 12, 13 years old, up until my early 20s, this was my theory of what happened. The theory is that Hoffa was killed by one of the most infamous killers in history, a crazy, evil, psychopathic hitman for the mob known as Richard the Iceman Kalinsky.
Okay.
Fun fact, how am I going to get a pro wrestling reference into this episode?
Oh, boy.
The character of the Iceman was where Stone Cold Steve Austin got his idea to be Stone Cold.
Really?
Just because of the cold nature of what Kalinsky was.
Right. Yeah.
I got one in every episode, baby.
Homer.
So Kalinsky claims that on July 29th, 1975, he and a mobster named Tony P.
Here we go, some more Tonys.
Hang on.
Hey, Tony. Hey. Yeah?
A mobster named Tony P. and a pair of brothers named Gabe and Sal and a guy named Tommy drove from Jersey to Detroit where they killed Jimmy Hoffa. Obviously, he's talking about Anthony Tony Provenzano, Gabriel and Salvatore Bariglio, Sally being Sally Bugs,
Right.
And Thomas Andretta, one of the Andretta brothers. The four were among the group of people that were targeted by a grand jury that probed Hoffa's murder. Sally Bugs was a very well-known hitman who was also a business agent for Provenzano's New Jersey's Teamsters Local. All denied taking part in the Hoffa hit, and none has changed. According to Kalinsky, they had a 10-hour drive to Detroit. Members of the hit team received a telephone call telling them to go to a suburban restaurant where they met Hoffa. The men drove a few miles with the Teamsters boss before Kalinsky said he knocked Hoffa unconscious with a blackjack and then, while holding Hoffa's chin up, thrust a hunting knife into the back of his skull.
Wow.
He said he kept the knife in there as long as possible to stop the bleeding so it wouldn't leak out all over the car and get evidence. The men said Kalinsky stopped at a rest area and put Hoffa then in a body bag. The other four would take a bus back to New Jersey. Kalinsky claims he then drove the body to a junkyard from Detroit. They took a body from Detroit where they have one of the biggest lakes in the world and drove it all the way back to New Jersey. Okay, hang on. Said one of the people for the New Jersey crime office, Bob Bassino. He said, it's hard to believe we helped lead the probe that put Kulinski behind bars. We don't believe a lot of the things it said. Kulinski claims that once back in New Jersey, Hoffa was placed in a 50-gallon drum and set on fire. The drum was then sealed and buried in the junkyard. He said, but then it was dug up a few months later after Sally Bugs began cooperating with the feds and they were worried about getting caught. The drum was then placed in the trunk of a car that was crushed and sold to scrap to Japanese automakers. Now, this theory was investigated very little, if at all. But up until in my early 20s, when I first heard about Hoffa when I was 12 or 13, this is the theory that I thought would happen. I thought that because Kulinski was one of the most violent men in history. They suspect him. He was only charged with like 10 murders when he got arrested and put behind bars.
Only 10
They
murders.
They suspect him of being responsible for up to 300 murders.
Damn.
Mafia related and non-mafia related. But I just thought I thought this was the theory. Like, how better can you... There would be no way to investigate that. If that was what really happened, that was the perfect crime, because he's crushed in a car that's already in a drum, and it's sold back as scrap metal. Okay, not only is he now all the way on the other side of the world, who the fuck knows where that recycled steel's at?
Oh, God.
Like, it probably ended up back at the Wapaki yards. It probably got shipped back from Japan back over here. And then when they put it in the charge yard, I probably, melted him down. I probably poured him in to make some brake rotors for a Toyota Tundra or something.
Pretty fucked up. It could be.
I mean,
I don't know.
That would be a perfect crime, though. Yeah, it wouldn't nobody know.
and it's just because it's because of who is saying it.
But
this guy is a proven hitman for the mob.
But the mob too, they don't give a fuck neither. And it would be just like him to put him right in front of millions of Americans, right in front of their face.
So, what do you think about this one? No.
Almost like a giant
until
stadium.
my 20s, I thought.
I kind of like the giant stadium thing. I mean, it's right there in front of everybody.
Okay.
Here's what happens to this shit when you fuck with the mob. Bam, poof, poof.
Hey, Kurt.
Yeah.
Do you remember when we kept deciding we kept talking about we were going to record a new show opening all the time?
Right.
And we put one together. We used it about 5 or 6 times.
Yeah. And?
I just got distracted by Doyle or something. Oh, there he is. So you had a line in there where you said Americans don't trust their fucking government.
Right.
I got a theory here about the government.
You think they got?
Yeah. You want to talk about this?
Yeah.
That's who it was, for sure.
The government. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. So.
I'm liking this one already.
Wait. Okay.
Fucking government.
So another well-known theory was publicized by a former Jimmy Hoffa associate known Joe Franco. Franco had wrote a book entitled Hoffa's Man with the New York Times reporter Richard Hammer. This book's got good reviews. I've never read it, but I've been so amassed in mob culture getting prepared for this, I might check it out. But in the book, Franco claims that Hoffa was abducted by federal marshals or federal agents. He alleged that the men showed Hoffa their IDs, so he got in the car with them. The only problem is, some people said that it was a black Ford LTD when every single witness out there sent him in a car. So take it with a grain of salt.
Right.
That doesn't mean the theory is completely washed out. But then the federal agents would drive him to a nearby airport, force him onto a small plane, and then push him out as they flew over the Great Lakes. I'm looking at your face because you keep saying Hoffa's wet.
Well,
wait. Just give me one.
One of the biggest water,
Just give me one, and then we'll
Okay.
get to my breakdown and your breakdown of it. You keep saying he's wet.
Yeah.
Do you know the name Michael Franzese?
No.
Okay, God, love this guy. So Michael Franzese is a former capo for the Colombo crime family, one of the 5 families in New York. He did his time. He got out of the mob. He's a motivational speaker now, big family man, big man of God, goes to church all the time, real good Christian, the works. Almost 4 years ago, he did a sit-down podcast interview with a guy named DJ Vlad, who's had a laundry list of guests on there, so he's a very reputable source. Somebody had asked him, and Vlad asked him too, about Jimmy Hoffa. And Franzese gets asked about Hoffa everywhere he goes. And his stories have pretty much stayed the same. He says, I can tell you he's wet, that's for sure. Upon good authority, he said, I know who the real shooter is, still alive today in prison. All I can tell you is he's wet. They're never going to find his body. It's wet.
Huh.
So...
there's a big lake here by Detroit, you know.
Okay. All right, so here we go, son. You ready to roll with this one? So this theory interests me. Could our own government have killed Hoffa and not the mob?
Fuck yeah, they could have.
They ice him down and freeze him for a couple years.
Okay. Well, what if I tell you that if this theory holds weight, it's because the United States government got into a pissing contest with the United States government?
Okay.
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 So the United States Senate and the FBI at the time were fixing to investigate our own CIA.
Huh.
And as you know, these agencies all work together, but as you know, and every American knows, and you can hop your Google machine, there's always been a pissing contest between the FBI and the CIA. Right. Good point. Good point. So, think about that. The government investigating the government. Okay, why? Where the fuck's this going, right? Okay. This was about Operation Mongoose. Okay. The Cuban Project, also known as Operation Mongoose, was an extensive campaign of terrorist attacks against civilians and covert operations carried out by our CIA in Cuba in the 60s. In August of 1960, the CIA would initiate the first phase of a plan entitled Gambling Syndicate. A couple of contacts in the CIA pulled in mob member Johnny Rosselli, who was a big mafia guy out in Vegas, but he had connections back east, okay? They would pull in, Rosselli would pull in a counterpart with him named Sam Gold, who would be known as Chicago Mafia or Sam Giancana. Okay, these guys were brought in because the United States government, the CIA, was getting involved with the American Mafia, La Cosa Nostra, to assassinate Fidel Castro. Now, see, the Mafia, the Italian Mafia, you know, especially the Mafia itself is completely ran through New York. You have different families and different bodies out in bigger areas like, you know, Chicago and Detroit and LA, but it's all comes through the five families in New York.
Right.
Castro had kicked the mob and pretty much everybody American out of Cuba. So, you know, the Mafia had at the time in the 60s, the Mafia was the first version of the Cayman Islands. Send all your illegal shit there, your money.
Right.
While they were out, Castro took all their money, took all their dope, took all their weapons, took everything.
Right.
So these son of bitches are ready to go down there and kill him. Well, because at the time the government was smart, Big Brother watching everybody, the enemy of my enemy is my friend type thing. So the government comes to the mob like, hey, we'll agree to look the other way on some shit. You guys go down there and kill Castro, and we'll call a spade and call it a day. So this is going on.
Didn't they try to poison him with his cigar?
Oh, yeah. It's in here. I mean, I can just skip that. Let's see. Several schemes, including poison, cigars, cigarettes, a handkerchief treated with bacteria, drinking liquid kerosene. I love how it says liquid kerosene, because how the fuck else is kerosene?
No doubt.
What other form is kerosene in?
No doubt.
Wait, I gotta hit it. What other form is kerosene in?
Yeah, you don't know. I don't know.
Solid. Mercury.
But wait, it gets better.
Okay.
I'm gonna skip forward just a little bit here. We're still on this theory. So there's Sam Gold, there's Johnny Rosselli. These are two high-ranking mob guys. These are at least capos. They're not, the level goes associates, which is your your lowest form, people like me and you, the peons,
Right.
the people that get arrested and killed first.
Like Grand Theft Auto when you start out, right?
The people that get arrested and killed first, that's us, the peons.
Right.
Then you got the soldiers. Then you got the capos, like your Tony Sopranos. And then you've got your consigliars, which are kind of like the like right hand, kind of the voice of reason. Then you'd have your underboss or your boss. So these guys are all at least capos, if not higher. The assassin attempt fails. They pull out. So how does this theory tie in? Hoffa was in control of the Teamsters for a long time. Okay? Jimmy Hoffa basically had a front row seat with backstage VIP passes to all the inner workings of the mob. Hoffa knew who was getting shook down. Right. Hoffa knew who was getting murdered. Right. Hoffa knew fucking everything.
Another reason for the mob to take him out.
You see how passionate I'm getting?
Yes.
But you're still wondering how this all ties in, this theory. So, how would it look if word had leaked out to most of us not in the know Americans in the 60s that our government, who's trying on television with the McClellan Committee to take down organized crime, how would it look if we were secretly in bed with organized crime, even though we were trying to fight Fidel Castro in Cuba? So the U.S. government and the FBI and the Senate, they were subpoenaing the CIA. And called to testify against these people was Johnny Rosselli, Sam Giancana, and Hoffa. And it was widely believed that all three were going to spill their guts about the mob. Okay? Or more especially about the government. Because this is what this theory is about. And then conveniently, they all three never made it to testify. Sam Giancana was murdered in a mafia-style hit. A very grotesque, like they fucked this dude up, mafia-style hit in June of 1975, a couple weeks before he was supposed to testify. Hoffa was scheduled to testify in August, just 2 or 3 weeks before he disappeared. And Johnny Rosselli, poor old Johnny, he was scheduled to testify sometime in early 1976. They found his body floating in a 50-gallon drum in Biscayne Bay down in Miami, Florida, with bullet holes in the back of his skull. So
he's definitely wet, but where?
So
they'll never find him.
So what do you think about this government theory? You think
that's plausible? You
think the government, the CIA itself, shut him out, and they fucking put him fishing with the swimmies?
It's looking that way.
I knew you were gonna say that.
Well, I mean,
no, I'm good. I want you to talk to me about this shit. I want to hear your shit.
That's a strong theory. I mean, I think that's it. Or we could go back and just ask his young daughter, where she seen him at.
That blew your mind, didn't it?
And I mean,
see, he was listening in the other room. He heard it.
Blow my mind a little bit. She would have had no idea what he was wearing.
She told people about this and her mother, and she told her.
How old was she been when it
She was in her 30s, 40s, something like that, 50s, whatever. You know, I don't remember how old the kids were. They were born in the 30s or 40s. So they're in 30s or 40s.
There was an adult that had this dream and then everything.
Yeah.
She was an adult.
I got another Hoffa is wet theory for you.
Okay.
So another theory was that Hoffa was killed on the orders of Tony Pro. Satan. Now, again, he's a capo. Tony was. He could have made that call.
Right.
You know, if you're an associate or assault, you can't make that call. Tony was high enough. He could have made that call. But the theory here is that his body was ground up into little pieces and shipped to Florida, thrown in a swamp. Now, a guy claiming to be a Mafia murderer named Charles Allen, who served prison time with Hoffa and was part of the Federal Witness Protection Program, had told the U.S. Senate in 1982, and they called bullshit on it because this guy was just looking for 15 minutes of fame. However, there's nothing here, but something that should be of note is that several of the guys on... Because you know how... You've seen The Sopranos. You know how the capos work. You know, the capo in each family, you've got a small crew that you run with guys that work for... You're all working under the same boss, but you've got your own little crew you run. Apparently, several of... reportedly, several of Tony Pro's crew made an emergency trip down to Florida for no reason in the days following Hoffa's disappearance. Reportedly.
Huh.
But I call bullshit. Bullshit. I call bullshit because maybe he did, maybe he didn't order the hit. I'm not discounting that. But Hoffa being cut to tiny pieces and driven to the swamps of Florida when you could have just flushed him in Lake Michigan, Lake Huron, Lake Erie, whatever the fuck it is up there.
He's in Lake Michigan.
Like, come on. Total
The government pushed him out of a plane.
Total That's the theory you're sticking with, huh?
It's the Atlantic Ocean to where he's at.
Okay, so how about this theory?
Let's drain the Atlantic.
How about this theory? This is my top two theory. I keep leaning towards this one and another one we'll get to later. How about this theory? Hoffa is buried beneath 73 stories of the Renaissance Center in Detroit, Michigan. Downtown Detroit. You know what the Renaissance Center?
No.
You seen the big GM building in Detroit?
Yeah.
He's buried underneath all the other buildings. It's downtown. Okay. Can I tell you why?
I mean,
No.
Him and Henry Ford were
You're just stuck on the government killed Hoffa now,
well,
aren't
it's either
you?
that or he's
That's
right in
what
front of
it is,
everybody
no doubt.
in Giant
You
Stadium.
should save that theory for last, because that's a guarantee of his government.
Yeah, I have to agree.
There is no undoubtedly.
He was
Anytime that you are in doubt about something, just always go to the government and they'll give you the answer. Because it was them every time.
Well,
Oh, God. Okay, so here we go.
Dale Earnhardt died? Government.
yeah, Dale Earnhardt died.
I mean, there's no way he died in that crash, but there is somehow, because of government.
Huh.
He was more popular than the president at the time.
Yep.
So.
Okay, so here we go. So this theory comes to us courtesy of Marvin Elkin, who's called the Weasel.
I don't like it already.
That's
God,
Nope.
just can I please?
Okay.
The Weasel, he's called this because he got pissed off at the mob and he played the mob for fools. This was a 17-year-old boy who started out. He met Jimmy Hoffa for the first time. He was working at the Copacabana nightclub in New York as a busboy, as a teenager. They came to him one day, the mob did, and said, "You're going to start driving for Jimmy Hoffa." He said he knew who Jimmy Hoffa was. Everybody did. But he said, "I don't want to drive for Jimmy Hoffa." And they're like, "We didn't give you a choice." So he said the first time he met Jimmy Hoffa, he almost pissed his pants because he opened the door for Hoffa and he said, "Good morning, Mr. Hoffa." He said, "You always refer to me as Mr. Hoffa or sir, never Jimmy."
Huh.
He said,
Yeah.
"Good job." He said, 2 rules. He said, number 1, you never be late. He said, if you're on time, you're late. Rule number 2, what you hear in this car stays in this car. If word gets out, he said, I promise you they'll never find your body.
Huh.
That's what Hoffa told him.
So then that dude did it to him, probably, I bet.
So Elkin's story goes that after Hoffa is picked up at the Red Fox restaurant, Marcus Red Fox, wherever they take him, within 30 minutes, Hoffa's executed.
Okay.
Tapped, back of the head, 2 dimes. Here we go again with the 2 dimes.
All right.
Okay? He was taken downtown and thrown into a pit with several tons of concrete as it was being poured in broad daylight on top of him. Elkin claims to know this because in the fall of 1975, just 2 or 3 months after the disappearance of Hoffa, they have a big union convention in downtown Detroit, Michigan. Okay? They're right across the street, like literally right across the street from the Renaissance Center at the Omni Hotel, one of the most famous hotels in the world.
They're in Louisville.
Okay. So a slew of businessmen, gangsters, and Elkin were all crossing the street past the construction site that morning, going back over there. Tony Pro and Tony Jack, there's your Jackalone,
Uh-huh.
they're all walking past. They turned back and told the group, "Boys, say good morning to our friend Mr. Hoffa. He deserves your respect," followed by laughter, because they said he deserved your respect, and they all start laughing their ass off. Now, okay, here's Elkin. He drove for Hoffa for years, and da-da-da-da-da, and he's in his, he's probably in his 30s by this point. You know what? But then a second story pops up to back this theory up.
That's the government sticking these stories out.
So a retired corrections officer said he saw Jimmy Hoffa being killed and buried at the construction site, which would become the anchor of the Detroit skyline, right? So it came from a young man named Michael Yarborough, who was 18 years old at the time. He was a corrections officer. He lived in nearby Inkster, which is a suburb of Detroit, right? So he claims he stumbled upon Hoffa being whacked, as he called it. It's the first time it's the first time all episode we've used the word whack.
Whacked.
That would have fit in real good with all the other shit we were saying earlier, wouldn't it?
Whacked.
Whacked. So he said he started running. So after I explain this theory, I'm going to tell you why I like it, but also why I don't like it, okay?
Okay.
Because there's a part in here coming up that I like it, but I'm like, this shouldn't have happened the way it happened. So I'll get to that. So Yarborough claims that he stumbled upon Hoffa being whacked in downtown Detroit, right? About 3:20 p.m., which would fit the timeline of, about a half hour after Hoffa got picked up, right? He said, quote, I came across the construction zone because I heard someone screaming help before I heard 2 gunshots. He said, from a short distance, I could see men holding him by the arms then as a cement truck was pouring down onto this great big pillar, and there was a 1975 Mercury Marquis parked behind me. He said, I was 18 years old. Don't you think I know what cars looked like then? So he said, according to Yarborough, his front row seat to history was interrupted by a third assailant who imposed the young man with his dark hair, or an opposing young man with dark hair. He said, as I watched on, a third guy come walking up to me and said, you better keep your ass moving unless you want to be next. He said, I didn't waste no time. I took off running. The guy started following me. He said, I ran to this tower in the hotel and I hid for 30 minutes till I felt it was safe. He said, I came back out and they were gone. So I like this theory a lot, but I also don't. For one thing, again, Hoffa's one of the most famous people in the world in 75. Like, he's Hollywood level celebrity.
Right.
And you're going to be murdering this guy, and some stranger happens to walk upon it.
That would be a
and you're not going to just going to let him go.
Yeah, I don't buy that.
Now,
who was it that picked him up, though, in this one? Like, who's the...
They was just the same thing. They don't know who picked him. It was, a car with 3 individuals, so you assume it's some sort of combination of gangsters.
But no government...
No. Well, so... But what I'm saying is, you're going to let this boy just walk away. Now, granted, one thing you learn about the mobs and a lot of these mob hits, how often do you see him ever whack a child? Now, he might be an 18-year-old boy, but at that point, when you're 18, you still sometimes look like you're a little bit younger, depending on. Nope, very often. I mean,
if they actually thought that they he seen him do it, I don't think they would have let him go.
See, but if it was a government, they would have, though. They wouldn't have gave a fuck.
And Hoffa, but what I want to point out to you and I guess you, because you're part of this now, you've been part of this episode.
Well, I'm just saying.
I should have got you a damn mic. You should have been sitting in with us. So here's my theory. I've been fascinated by this story since I was a teenager. We talked about this since I was a young 13-year-old boy. And we've been prepping on this episode for a month. In Hoffa folklore, very rarely do you ever have 2 corroborating stories. And that's what you've got here as far as what happened to him.
Where he's at and everything.
But I call bullshit, and I like it. It's my number 2 theory on what happened, but I call bullshit. Because you're never going to find that body. Even if the government decided they wanted to look, you're never going to find that body. That is one of the top 5 most iconic skylines in U.S. history. You're not going to tear that sun. And especially with a company like General Motors owns the part of the building that he is supposedly under, you're not going to let them tear that down to go digging into the concrete to see if you can find him. It ain't going to happen. So again, perfect crime because barring an earthquake, a hellacious tornado, or a fire, that building's never coming down to be examined what's underneath there.
Right.
So but how fitting would it be? This is the other thing. Because we was talking about the mob's 6th sense of humor. Why not put him on TV when we can see him?
Yeah.
All the time, yeah.
What better place to put a labor leader union than one of the biggest labor projects going on in the country at the time? You pour the concrete on him, and the next morning these motherfuckers are coming to work, working right over the top of him, and they never even know.
Well, that's, yeah. I mean, you have
Like
two
government
corroborating stories. I don't know.
I think the government definitely is.
I do too.
Okay. So
No doubt in my mind.
So here's one. This is the laughable one. Hoffa was thrown into witness protection.
No.
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 You going with no?
No.
So,
No.
Yeah. No.
so the theory goes that the theory goes back to obviously the theories all start at the Mockus Red Fox parking lot.
Right.
But the theory goes back to the one with the federal agents. This one goes with they whisked him away into a car, which goes against everything we've ever heard about him just willingly getting in a car.
Right.
Because they found out information that he was going to get whacked. There you go, whacked. And they thought he would be valuable as an informant. So, hey, great theory. I mean, sure, whatever. You really think you can keep a guy with his mouth as big as his and an ego as big
Right.
as his?
Quite.
He had an ego bigger than my fat ass, and that's a big ego.
Hey,
How are you going to keep that guy hidden from everybody?
yeah. You're not going
That's
to.
reducer.
Do what?
That's reducer.
Reduction.
Okay.
I'm not buying this one.
No, I'm not. That was not it. Oh. Government.
So you're going with the
I think I got to go with the government
As
too.
far as where the body would be, that
Right.
was really cut it down. But as far as that one, I would say that last place you mentioned, in Detroit, would be the underneath that building. Could
Final
be it,
resting place.
And like I said, that's very rarely do you get two corroborating
Right.
stories. But what I'm about to tell you now is kind of a corroborating story, but kind of not. Actually, I take this back. I take this back because I didn't think about how I want to word
Talk
this.
about that.
That's my number 3 theory because the next 2 theories actually work out better. I forgot about this one. So the next theory goes is that Hoffa was. Do I have a?
Yeah, you got a sticky.
I got a sticky note
Yeah,
point out.
yeah.
Okay. Witness protection. Cross that out. We got that one.
Put that one at the top 3.
Oh yeah, sure. Witness protection. That's where fucking Hoffa is.
Yeah.
Okay. So this theory here it comes to us like 5 days after Hoffa dies. So, and I didn't have time. Here we go with what I said. The notes were 90% finished, so I didn't get to put this in. But I said everybody knows the story pretty much. We can just wing it, and I got a hot spot right here. So this theory
Is white.
I'm gonna hold my mic. Let's see how. See, Kurt's like, stop it! I hear the noise. All right, hang on, everybody. We're adjusting. I had to kick back.
Ah, nice. I like that. Yeah.
You gonna do that now too?
You look like you're getting ready to sing or something.
Hey, how are you? Hey, hey, you
how
said
are
Doyle was singing earlier, weren't you? Indian chanting out there.
Yeah.
That might be a.
Sacrificing those branches.
Uh-huh.
Okay. All right. So this theory comes to us August 4th, 1975.
Okay.
By the way, that's the day before my birthday. I was born August 5th.
Okay.
Not that year, obviously.
Right.
Yeah. You'd have been a 4-year-old boy then?
Yeah.
So there's a mob guy in prison serving a stint for manslaughter or homicide or something.
And his name's Tony
His name's Ralph Picardo.
Picardo. Okay.
You know the Italians, they all
Right.
end in O, like
Right,
just
right,
like the
right.
Polish all end in ski.
Right.
So Ralph Picardo is visited in prison by the Andretta brothers, Thomas and Stephen Andretta, and somebody else I can't remember. They proceed to tell him that Jimmy Hoffa has been taken out. Hoffa is no more. Hoffa has been dead. He's gone. Okay. After they leave, Picardo, who realizes that, I mean, he's probably going to be in this box forever. He tries to, I don't know if he was trying to get himself a better deal or what. He decides to turn state's evidence. So he gets the FBI in here immediately. Because now, keep in mind, this is 5 days after Hoffa disappeared. This is like prime news.
Right.
They sit down over the course of a couple hours, and Picardo spills his guts about what happens. He says that they take Jimmy Hoffa to a nearby house that is owned by this lady. Her son is a gangster out with one of the families out in Los Angeles. So This guy, this LA gangster, again, hop in your Google machine here. I'm trying to recall this best from my memory here. I mean, I'm not pulling it up on the laptop. History Channel did a documentary about it too. They, this guy makes sure his mother's gone out of the house, right? So they drive Hoffa to this house. They execute him. Okay? They stuff his body in a 55-gallon drum. So here we got this drum theory again, right? Okay. At the time, the Genovese's family, here we go again. The Genovese family, they own a trucking company, transportation, called Gateway Transportation. So they truck him back to New Jersey and bury him underneath the Pulaski Skyway, which is a major traveled. It's in a dump owned by the Moscato family. So it's like 57 acres worth of land. Part of it, at least half of it, is a toxic dump. So it's inhabitable to get to. Right. It's dangerous for you. And apparently, this was like a prime dumping ground for the mob. This is why they like dumping bodies there. Well, Picardo, being Picardo, he's not going to tell them exactly where it is, but he keeps telling them they're in the right spot. So they dig there in 75. They find absolutely jack fuck nothing. Okay. We shoot back to 2020, 2 years ago. A guy by the name of Phil Moscato passes away. His mafia nickname was Brother Moscato. He owned the dump. He's on his deathbed. He tells his son, who's in his 50s, his son's in his 50s, and he says, you're probably going to be the last person on earth who knows where Jimmy Hoffa's buried. So he decides to come clean. Excuse the EQ popping, everybody. I'm putting my mic down. So he comes clean, gets the mafia there, or gets the government there. They go looking for the body. So before they want to start digging on this property that's now no longer solo a dump, it's been divided amongst 3 different organizations. They used, and this is 2020, so we're in the most advanced technology we have. They use this thing that's like, you remember the little cart you push across with your hand to pick up nails? Yeah. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. They got one that they use ground penetrating radar, sonar. Yeah. And you take the data from that, and when you put it into your computer and you examine it, it gives you a 3D image of what you're looking at. Right. Well, when they did that test in 2020, they got the results back in 2021. They're finding like dozens and dozens of 55-gallon drums buried in the ground. So they start the process of digging through this dump. And in July, as of July, and you can hop in your Google machines, as of July 2022, they made a statement that came out just 2 months ago saying they had found nothing noteworthy yet. Now, they still have a lot more property to search, but as of now, they have still found nothing. But the story goes, they got Hoffa's butt. And so the whole reason for this is Tony Pro hated Hoffa's guts. If this motherfucker could have mounted his head on the wall of his house, he probably would have. The whole reason he was brought back is so they could make a point to people and be like, look, over there is Hoffa's body. Keep fucking with me. But that's like my second theory, but I'm not buying it because the next theory is like too great to pass up.
Okay.
And there's one other bullshit theory we can do. Actually, we'll cover the bullshit theory real fast. So there's a movie called The Irishman. Robert De Niro and Al Pacino. Who doesn't love those two guys? Right. So in the movie, Al Pacino plays Jimmy Hoffa. Okay. Robert De Niro plays the Irishman Frank Sheeran, who was a good friend of Jimmy Hoffa's in real life. He was also a hitman for the mob. Sharon, on his deathbed in 2003, 4-ish, whenever, claimed that he executed Jimmy Hoffa, as well as countless other people. He executed Hoffa because the mob said, if you don't execute him, we will execute you. Again, 2 dimes to the back of the head. Here we go. Every theory involving him being shot is 2 dimes. And it's to the back of the head. It's never in front of him.
Putting out all these theories.
It's never... Will you just give me my moment here, son?
You said this wasn't even the good one.
There's a lot of people out there that believe that Sharon was the guy that did it, and he wrote the book about it. He was telling the story to a guy who was a former detective, and the detective wrote the book. I don't believe that's what happened. I don't believe he did it. The theory goes that Sharon shot him. They left the house. Cleanup crews come in, clean the house, took the body to a mob-owned mortuary, and cremated it. Now, I don't believe that. I put it on Facebook, and he's seen it. I put it on Facebook a couple weeks ago that Sharon might be a good guy, or might have been, but his theory is full of shit. He didn't execute Hoffa. The next theory, though, is the one I think I'm hanging my hat on now.
Okay.
So it doesn't involve a crematory, but it involves an incinerator. And I'll tell you why I'm sold on this. So it goes that the gangsters, and I think in this theory it was Sal Brugliano, Sally Bugs.
All right.
Fun fact, Sally Bugs was murdered by Frank Sheeran years later down in Little Italy in New York. Just thought I'd throw that out there. Oh. They execute Hoffa. Again, 2 dimes, back of the head. Here we go with the 2 dimes thing. Okay. They drive him 35 miles outside of Detroit, Michigan. So they go pick him up at the Red Fox restaurant where they're supposed to be. They said, hey, Tony Prose and Anthony Jack, they're here waiting on you. We're going to go here to this meeting house. This was a house that Hoffa had been in before. So he's not afraid to go in this place.
Right.
Doesn't even get in the door. I think they said they whacked him outside or in the car. I don't believe they'd whack him in the car because blood would splatter all over the car. Regardless, Sally Bugs pops him. They drive him 35 miles outside of Detroit to a company called Central Sanitation, which is owned by 2 high-ranking Detroit Mafia members, Peter Vitale. I always thought of Dick Vitale.
Baby.
Yo, baby, we killed Hoffa, baby, yeah. I can't think of the other guy's name, but they were 2 high-ranking Detroit mob guys. They owned Central Sanitation. So after they kill Hoffa, they take his body to this incinerator. We're talking, this is an industrial cleaning company. This incinerator, this shit melt a Buick. This is a big. They put Hoffa in there, and they said within like 5 minutes, there's no more Hoffa. It's that hot, it's that fast, it's that big. Hoffa's gone. Well, the FBI starts poking around, and the government. This is their favorite theory. So they're getting ready to go in there and investigate this place. Guess what happens? The building catches on fire in an arson case that's never been...
The government.
They never arrested it. In an arson case.
The government.
They use that place to do the bodies, and they burn the whole place. And
so you're convinced.
Well,
the government, Hoffa's wet. He's not. Yeah. He's not ashes. He's not. Nope. He's wet.
He's wet.
Over somewhere in the lakes. Yep. Pushed out of an airplane at 20,000 feet by the government. 10,000 feet, whatever.
Definitely by the government as far as the state. I don't know.
Yeah, what body of water, I don't know. But
yeah, the body, well, that last one.
Where is Jimmy Hoffa, Kirk Kelly?
He's in a...
He's reincarnated.
He is in the water somewhere. I don't know. I think he's wet, definitely.
I think we know more about it than people would give us credit
Lake
for.
Michigan.
I think he's in a lake or...
When I was younger, like I said, I thought it was full-on Richard Kalinsky. He was in a car. He got shipped to Japan. Got melted down and used in an iron mill. Now, I think he's either underneath the Renaissance Center.
I would almost go with that one too.
Or I think he's under GM's headquarters, or I think he got incinerated, and I mean he's gone. I think Central.
Too many possibilities when you can sum it all up with government.
And the funny thing is, that's all we're going to cover. There is countless other theories out there, but these are the main ones. There was theories that abounded about a decade ago of him being buried. He got taken out and executed about 20 miles outside of town on an old horse farm. Okay, and he was buried beneath what became a horse barn. The FBI in 2013, the FBI, the Michigan State Police, and whoever else, they were out there investigating this. This barn's no longer standing. They dug through the foundation where this concrete barn was. They dug 15, 20 feet underground.
Why would that have been?
Nothing there.
Why did they search that super hard? But then whenever
because the guy that told him that was a big time mob guy, and he just So
I think they would basically it's them that did it, and then they would have to cover their shit.
You know,
so they make up all these other stories. You know,
the mob is probably involved with the government.
Yeah, well, he already mentioned that was the case in other occasions, like the Fidel Castro thing.
Yeah.
So that tells me that it was the government.
So you think Hoffa was murdered by the government to keep quiet? Because again, here you go.
Either that, or they froze his body with Austin Powers.
This is similar to you've got Kurt. You got two sons. This is similar to your sons getting in a fist fight with each other. You've got the CIA fighting with the FBI.
Well,
and this, I mean, essentially.
Well, it is known that they didn't.
Well, they aren't essential. No, they aren't essential workers. No.
So.
Have to work, essentially.
I'm thinking, yeah. I smell a rat in the government.
Okay.
Have you ever seen the movie or the show?
I don't think we've ever had an episode where we've differed on opinions before. This is a steel toes and scoreboards first. Look at this.
25 top point guards. I'd say there was a lot of different.
We don't talk about that episode.
It's with Hoffa buried.
Yeah. Hey, high five. It has to be. That's with Hoffa buried.
Or it's
hey, I feel about this episode tonight as I felt about that one when I was doing the research on it. Like it was going to be a good episode. The only difference is that one shit the bed. This one's not.
I think it's a good episode.
Shit the bed. Oh my god.
So,
that sounds stupid.
Okay.
Listeners, give us your theories.
Yeah, we need to get some feedback on this shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
California.
So, what are we going to talk about in 2 weeks?
Butthole circumference.
Mine would be that'd be a big circumference. You ever seen my hole? Did I just say that?
Wow, folks. What a turn of events here.
Bigger tape out for that, folks.
What a turn of events here.
Wide tape.
We found Hoffa.
Wow.
Wow, yeah, wow.
That's close call.
That's fun.
You know what my favorite Jimmy Hoffa joke is?
What's that?
Jim Carrey and Bruce Almighty. You ever see that movie?
Yeah.
They find so he's trying to get a news story. So he this dog digs up Hoffa's body in a park, and he's the one that catches it, filming it with a camcorder. That's like
I'd say we'll never really know.
No, and they'll never find his body.
I mean,
no matter where it's at.
Witnesses are dropping like flies, it sounds like to me, or possibly.
There's very I honestly, in my opinion, and me and you obviously are nobodies. We're not around enough people to know anything. I would be shocked if there's not 5 people or less left on this earth that actually knows exactly what happened, or is still alive.
It's probably going to go to the grave.
Let's rank
too.
them.
So,
those 5 people. Who are they?
Oh God, I'm just saying. I don't.
Isaiah Thomas knows.
Joe Biden.
Okay, and Joe Biden.
Jesus knows.
Yeah, yeah.
Jesus has to. Yeah.
Jesus knows.
Somebody knows something.
Batman knows everything.
Kanye West. He probably knows.
If only Superman were here to.
Your ex-girlfriend, she knew everything. You see Kurt's face. Dude, you can't say that on the air.
Wieners.
Okay, so.
What are we going to talk about in 2 weeks?
I don't know. I need to.
We better get back to this. We better get back to the scoreboards episode.
Don't bring me that bag over there. The black bag that's the one that I keep the laptop in.
We better do a scoreboards episode.
You want to get back to sports?
We better get back into sports.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bring me the black bag that's got the little ones that I carry the laptop in. That one right there. Yeah.
Just a sex bag?
No, it was an old diaper bag for the kids, and I just
used diapers bag.
He's got the list, folks.
We haven't seen this list in a long time, have we?
No.
That's what he started doing.
So, I say we do this old school like I do. I'm going to give you a few choices, and you make them. But, before I open the list, here's what you were looking at. I mean, we are blowing through a lot of World Series episodes lately.
Right.
And, of course, we have the 5 10-year intervals here, dating all the way back 75 years ago to 47, and coming as far new as 5 years ago with 2017.
So wasn't there a 1975 or 76 World Series in there?
Oh, well, of course there should.
By the
There
time Jimmy
would have been
disappeared?
2. There would have been 2 in there. There would have been 77, which broke your heart,
Yeah.
and there would have been 72.
Yeah.
But we can't do 72 because we just did 1990.
Right.
And that would be again the Reds. But let's just hold off on that a minute. I don't know what's going on. So here you go, Super Bowl 43, Cards Steelers.
Yeah.
We always pass on that.
Great game.
Great game, very good game. I was listening to one of our old episodes a couple weeks ago because I was looking for something in particular. I try not to listen to our episodes anymore because I don't want it to affect our download data.
Right.
Because I want
Play over and over and over.
Oh wait, you guys are. You mean do illegal forging of stats? That's Jimmy Hoffa stuff there.
I think they're going to care since Spotify takes over 200 streams to get $1 from them.
So, anyways, but I was looking for something. There was an episode that you wanted us to do one time, and I forgot about it until I just found it the other week. It was talking about the short-lived run of the USFL
Yeah.
that folded in the 80s. So there's that. There's 2 football episodes right there. We could...
You know which one of them I'm going to pick.
The Card Steelers.
Look at my wall right there. Yeah.
Yeah, the Steelers wall.
Yes.
We could possibly do
Lingerie League.
a look. Oh God, trust me, that'd be a very sticky episode.
What would it be?
The Lingerie League.
It's a sticky episode. It's hard to talk about. We could talk about possibly a Shaq episode where we just look back at Shaq's career.
Shit.
Shat.
Most dominating. Bill Lambier would not make Shaq piss himself.
Bill Lambier would have made Shaq cry like a bitch.
I don't think so. It's Shaq,
Bill
dude.
Lambier. I know that.
It's Shaq.
That was like one of the greatest lines in the original Open ever. Bill Lambier would have been like, "Hey Shaq, come here." What? and Bill Lambier would have called Shaq a racial slur. He would have said, "You got ugly. You got teeth that makes you look like a horse or something." Or he would have said something about "I banged your mom," and Shaq would have ran off the court crying.
Yeah.
Bill
Shaq
Lambier was an asshole,
He was an asshole.
and he was a physical player.
Yeah, but I don't think that's
Shaq hurt more people on
I'm
accident.
not saying it's right, but Lambier, think about that, how it was in the 80s. Lambier would have called him a racial slur, probably poked him
Definitely.
in the eye, kicked him in the nuts.
I mean, I don't know about that, like all that, because basically, like Shaq, it ain't like Shaq wasn't tough or whatever.
But I was gonna say, you know how many people Shaq hurt on accident? Probably
Yeah, just setting the screen or
just
fucking-
setting the screen or going up for a rebound.
Well, I mean, Lambier would have kicked him in the nuts. Draymond Green does that now, don't he?
I mean, just basically
He might have got away with the one.
It ain't like Bill Lambier was going to be able to guard Shaq any better than
Right.
David Robinson was able to guard Shaq.
Right.
Ooh,
Hot
that's
take.
a hot take.
Yeah.
David Robinson way better at defense than Bill Lambier.
And he couldn't stop
Bill,
Shaq.
Bill Lambier was good at defense because of how he played, and it was dirty. It wasn't basketball, you know.
He's getting going. He's wanting his
I'm
his
with
mic.
him on it. Shaq could kick his ass. Seabass.
Okay, how about this? Tell me, you want to do a sports episode this time? You want to get back? So pick a sport, and I'll figure out what we're going to talk about.
I say
What have you been
no
for?
Super Bowl.
We've got football, we've got baseball, basketball, hockey,
Or we
NASCAR.
cover Tomlin getting fired. Yeah, that wouldn't be bad.
Mike Tomlin.
Getting fired.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't fuck want to talk
I
about
guarantee
that.
It's the Rooney Rule.
Kenny Pickett.
Or-
Pickett.
What did I tell you? 4 games, and they're going to say they're going to bench Trubisky. And this is what? That was what? Game 3?
Yeah.
Yeah. After next week, he's
Tomlin
getting
says
benched.
he's starting.
Yeah, but after he fucks up next week, he's getting benched
He's
again.
definitely going to fuck up next week, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's just given. He's going to fuck up, yeah.
And furthermore,
And him and Canada go riding off to the sunset together. And Tomlin is Yes.
Wow.
Hot take.
You guys are pretty.
No, I'm just kidding. Basically, he is right now for sure.
9-8 every
He's
year.
been a good coach while he's been there.
9-8 every year does not cut it, folks.
9-8 every year does not.
Does not cut it.
Well, that definitely his average would definitely not be that every year. 9-8.
It would be pretty close.
He's never had even a losing season. That would be right on the brink of it, and he's won at least 2 Super Bowls.
He's not won 2 Super
He's
Bowls.
won 1 Super Bowl. He's been to two or three.
Been to 2.
They won in
and
08.
So that means he's definitely not going to be in the Hall
And
of
that
Fame.
was inherited. He inherited both of them teams.
From Cower?
Yes.
Not still by
Yes.
2010.
Yes.
Not still
Yes.
by 2010.
Yeah.
A team is way different from one year to the next. Way
Well, I
different.
mean, I'll give you that. He probably
The
inherited
culture,
what
though,
was
stays the
from
same.
2010, but
2004. Larry Fitzgerald.
I love Larry Fitzgerald.
He was. You know he's not officially retired.
So you want to do our second official Super Bowl recap?
Yeah.
You want to do Steelers cards?
Yeah.
That was one of the best Super Bowl games I ever
Pretty damn good
watched.
game. Yeah.
What do
You know, Harrison had that.
It had it all.
Harrison had that return.
Yeah.
And Santonio Holmes, the end zone catch.
Great catch.
And then Larry Fitzgerald, that entire postseason, setting records.
Yeah.
Wait, what year
Clutch.
was that one though?
09.
That was the
08.
It would have the
08.
2008 season, but the Super Bowl would have been in 2009. Yeah, Fitzgerald. Larry Fitzgerald broke all kind of postseason records that season.
The Cardinals wasn't expected to be there.
But Kurt Warner,
they got on a roll in the playoffs.
they had a nice little 2-3 year run there.
Yeah.
After Kurt Warner had been the backup for original USC standout Matt Leinart.
Matt Leinart.
And Leinart shit the bed. He was a southpaw.
Yeah.
Leinart was a southpaw.
He never amounted to shit, did he?
No, and I don't think that's all his fault. Like,
He was white.
the two biggest busts at the NFL level, they always say come out of wide receiver and quarterback. So I don't think
running back.
they always say it's because they always say
Bust in NFL history.
they always say that it's easy because with a running back you just run the ball. With running routes you've got I don't know, it's what.
And a quarterback better have some sort of IQ.
Well, yeah. Okay, so let's do Super Bowl episode then.
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
I'll be all giddy.
Sometime. So let me as we start to wrap up here. Wrap up. Wrap your whacker. What?
All right.
These EQs are popping. So Kurt, we still recording? Yeah. So let's do a little bit of word association.
Okay.
Okay. Jimmy Hoffa.
The government did it.
The government theory.
Right on.
Hoffa being buried under Detroit skyline.
Possible.
Hoffa being relocated in witness protection.
Nah.
Tony Provenzano.
Greatest gangster name ever.
Anthony Tony Giacalone.
Another great gangster name.
All the mafia names I've said
Hey,
tonight.
Tony. Hey, Tony. Hey, Tony. Hey, Tony. Hey, Tony.
How would Sylvester Stallone fit into this?
He don't, does he?
No.
Oh, okay.
Do his little.
Yeah, boy, you got a smart mouth.
It's been a great
Mick,
show.
Yo, Mick.
How do you think we did on this episode? You think this is going to be one of our better ones? Man, I mean, we had a lot of fun tonight.
I had fun, yeah. And we still don't know where Jimmy Hoffa's at. Damn it.
Where is Jimmy Hoffa?
Exactly.
Is he alive?
No.
Okay.
Can't be, can he?
No.
He'd be 110 years
he's
old.
He's over 100 years old.
He'd be 110.
How the fuck could he be alive? Oh yeah, they froze him. Okay.
Well, I mean,
Yeah, seriously.
look at Bill Gates. He's 250 right now.
Who is?
Bill Gates.
Oh, that must be from that triple COVID injection.
He's
I don't have that
250
yet.
years old.
Bill Gates?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, yeah.
No.
Anthony Fauci is.
Anthony Fauci's 175.
Career.
Yeah, he's starting a new career at 80 years old. Believe that?
Wow.
Yeah, wow.
So,
Bit off there.
what's coming up next for me and Kurt? This coming week, there will be, unfortunately, there'll be no weeknight episode because I've got to
You'll be out of town.
I got to be out of town. I got to go work up in Indianapolis. You know, we're doing Verizon tower work this week, not anything internet.
Don't be hiding no bodies in there now.
We're going to be, at one point this week, we're going to be right across the street from Lucas Oil Stadium.
Right.
We're going to be at the biggest Verizon 5G hub in the state of Indiana. So I was joking with my boss, my best friend, and I said, so if I take something out, he goes, you pretty much shut the entire state down. I said, cool. I said, I have the power. So we'll be looking for, but unfortunately that means we and I won't, and this coming weekend I'll have the kids. So in 2 weeks we'll get back together, do a weeknight, and then we'll do Steelers Cardinals. Coming up, we do have we are getting into postseason baseball time here, very short. Kurt and I, one little project. I want to talk about a couple things before we wrap it up tonight. I did a list of things prior to me and Kurt going to Richmond. Basically, I went back 75 years. I covered every World Series in 5 and 10 year intervals. So basically, every year ending in a 7 or every year ending in a 2. Next year, it'll be every year ending in an 8 or every year ending in a 3. We're going to start to look at anniversary series going back in 5 and 10 year intervals as far back as 75 years. There is some good World Series to cover in this period here, 47, 52, 57, 52, all the way back up until 5 years ago with the Astros and the Dodgers.
Right.
So we're going to try to knock a couple of those out. We also, before the end of the year, I would like to knock out part 3, which of our Overreach series, which will be Oklahoma City bombing.
Right.
And then just for shits and giggles, because Kurt gets excited, I would like to knock out Killdozer, too.
Killdozer, we got to do it.
We got to do Killdozer. Dude, could you imagine if you get pissed off, just weld you up a dozer to look like a tank and just...
He had every right to do that shit there.
He just... You know, when he set that lid on there, it was pretty clear he wasn't coming back out again.
Right.
And he went in prepared. The amount of money and time he spent...
Can you imagine the looks on their faces when they see that thing coming at them?
I guarantee you somebody at least pissed their pants once.
Absolutely. Sure bet.
What do you think of our new seating arrangements here?
I like it.
We're both sitting in recliners. And I'm holding the mics in our hands.
I like it.
That's pretty different. All right. What's also next for Steel Toes and Scoreboards is Mr. Doyle and I are going to be doing an NBA season preview coming up over the course of the next few weeks. I'm going to kind of let old Buttercup over there dictate how we do this because he's more up to date with the newer NBA guys than what me or Kurt are. So I don't even know if Kurt will be a part of it. It might just be me and Dole's thing. But how are we gonna do that there, Buttercup?
I don't know. We'll worry about
We gonna do team by team breakdown or what?
Gonna be a remote or
Gonna be a remote or am I gonna be?
No, we probably won't be remote because I won't be able to take it very seriously.
He's gonna take it very seriously.
seriously, right?
Okay, all right. So who's gonna win it this year? LeBron, another championship, baby.
I have to agree.
Oh, I got a LeBron story to tell you that involves Patrick Beverly and how stupid he is.
Dude, which one's stupid?
Patrick Beverly's stupid.
Yeah, he definitely is.
Apparently, he said he dick twisted LeBron in the Lakers locker room and said, "You're going to listen to me now, LeBron boy, because I made the playoffs last year and you didn't." And I was talking to some people, some of my friends. I'm like, okay, number one, if Patrick Beverly and I think Beverly's an okay scorer. I don't think he's a star. I don't think he's a star. But I was like, if Beverly would ever dick twist LeBron would kill him in his sleep. Like this is not going to happen. Like this is LeBron. This is the greatest player in the league, like in the world. And remember, I used to hate LeBron forever. I came around on him the last 5 or 6 years, but anyways,
Well,
it's just Patrick Beverly running off at the mouth.
I don't know. That don't even sound like something I would have happened, but I mean, I guess maybe they were jacking each other off or something.
What the fuck? All right, so for Ethan Doyle, Kurt Kelly, I'm Jared Atkins. We're gonna go ahead and shut it off there. We've already crossed several boundaries tonight. We've made plenty of dick jokes and sex jokes, and Kurt Kelly's got blue balls and. Jesus Christ.
I'm out.
All right, so we will see you guys next week.